and hold on. And we're good.
Oh, guess.
We're live.
Yep.
Hello, everybody, and we are exactly 10 minutes on time. Welcome to Gaytriarchy number 30. Are you a man? Are you a gay man? Are you a bisexual man? Are you not a gay or bisexual man? Or maybe are you like kind of bisexual that occasionally fools around with guys, but only when women are around? We'll hear more about that later, perhaps. And or are you just some person that happens to be totally heterosexual but is interested in talking to gay guys who or bisexual guys who are not feminists, who really, really hate this whole alphabet soup community that we're supposed to be a part of, and we actually don't really want to be a part of it anymore because, you know, we're men and we don't like being demanded to hate ourselves constantly and pretend like we don't have any problems. You know, like there isn't some gigantic meth crisis going on. Like you go out to a gay club and half the guys are like tweaked out, which is why I don't go out to them anymore. If you care about these issues, you care about talking about them, you care about why they might be happening, well, obviously we're not conspiracy theorists. Oh, that's silly. Oh, that's silly. But, you know, I mean, sometimes we like to talk about things as if maybe we are. Maybe we were. So here we are, and that's what we're doing. I have two guests on tonight. One that I met a few weeks ago, and another one that I met just today, who was kind enough to help me out figure out how to download OBS, which I dramatically botched at the beginning. I downloaded malware and had to like delete everything because it was trying to multiply, and
did you go to downloadmoreram.com?
I don't fucking know. I was trying to do something like rather rushed, and but anyhow, it was probably my fault, and no, I'm sure it was my fault. This is the thing. And then and Anubis, I've been talking to for a while. Anubis, let's start with you. How do we know each other?
In like a metaphysical sense, or?
Well, do we have a metaphysical sense? Is that something?
I mean, to me, on it, like you're just a bunch of frequency coming through my headphones.
Oh, okay.
And then like words on a screen. But you know, we met in Sargon server.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty cool.
Is Sargon?
He was a conqueror back in the day. I guess he got his eye blasted out by a spear or something.
Ooh,
That sounds interesting.
that is the stuff of comic book.
It's funny because if you actually Google Sargon of Akkad, it shows Carl's face, and then it has the description of the ancient Babylonian warlord.
Now we need to make an animated series that explains like the origins of this new hybrid Sargon of Akkad. He not
the
only
coming of,
yeah,
call it becoming Sargon. That'd be pretty nice.
He was not only a Mesopotamian warlord, but he was also a astute political commentator.
I love how both of you gave technically correct but wholly inaccurate representations of which people he belonged to.
Damn you and your freaking history lesson.
He was Akkadian. He wasn't Babylonian or Mesopotamian. It's just the same area.
Hey, you know what? You are being very intolerant to people who have any kind of education about history at the American, or I don't know about the Canadian level, but American history does not go back more than 300 years, and I would think to remind you that.
He just likes to flaunt his understanding of history.
You with your things and your information.
Oh, you should have seen how rock hard this dude got when they announced they might have found Alexandra's coffin.
Raging! You can see my boner through the microphone.
I smelled it actually.
Yeah, it was like basically the space station took some pretty good shots of it. It took up half of the hemisphere.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
we should meet.
Yeah, we just had a pretty in-depth in the Discord server. We were all in a conversation beforehand, and we had a pretty friggin' in-depth conversation about the size of this dude. Literally like 30 minutes ago.
I too have had many conversations in Discord servers about the size of penises.
Isn't that the only point? Isn't that the only point of Discord is to share porn?
It does seem to be a recurring element in Discord servers that there has to be a porn room.
Oh, it's too bad there's no like chat here that I could upload pictures. I have a perfect meme.
Well, if there ends up being a Gaytriarchy Discord server, there is no porn room allowed, and I'm going to be.
Why?
I will tell you exactly why. Because there's people who apparently like to plant some sort of fucking kiddie porn up on things and then call people pedophiles. I've been hearing a lot of rumors about pedophiles, and it would be really, really easy to stream the Gaytriarchy or to smear the Gaytriarchy stream as pedophiles. So there's no porn allowed. Period.
Well, yeah, we don't have an NSFW channel in Sargon server either for basically the same reason.
I suppose that makes sense. Of course.
Yeah,
So-
just because you know that some hateful bigot would just come in there and start dropping a bunch of crap, screenshotting it, and been like, "Look at what goes on in the server. You gotta shut it down."
Oh, people
Yeah.
don't do that kind of thing. What do you?
They would never. They would
Never,
never
yeah.
dream. I mean, like, Gamergate was about misogyny, and shut up.
I thought we were the bigots.
Yeah, right.
We were personally staking out Anita Sarkeesian's home with telephoto lens, like so that we could take pictures of her and plant them all over Tumblr.
I think that was Sui Pak or whatever, that girl. Did you
Who?
guys remember that the Asian girl? And she like went on some like cable news thing, and she had this dramatic story about guys like following her around and taking photos of her, and she like. I think that she was tangentially involved with Gamergate in some way. Maybe not. Maybe it was just some feminist that was on the internet around the same period of time. But she claimed to have gotten like doxxed and harassed, and she went on this like cable news. It's actually really fucking funny. So she went on this cable news program, and they made a little like made for TV movie that was really short, like maybe 5 minutes long, about her. So they had like actors, and like they rented out a club to do this like reenactment. It's like well lit film, and she was like telling the story, and supposedly the people who doxed her, whoever these evil misogynists were following her around, and they had their phones up, and she was like, "It looks like they're taking pictures of me." And so she went over to the guy, demanded to see his phone, and then scrolled through the photos and sure taking pictures of her, which is like the least likely thing to have ever. It's like, no, you didn't. You never grabbed some guy's fucking phone.
And why does he let you use it?
Yeah.
He'd be like, "No, bitch." You're like, "No, bitch. See you later." Like, fuck off.
Yeah, no, it's like, who in that situation is going to be like, "Hey, okay, yeah, you crazy bitch."
Yeah.
That entirely depends on how hot she is, really.
It's a feminist, so like maybe a 5 if you're lucky.
I would say she would probably be about a 5.5. She was not particularly cute. But yeah. So so that and things. But I was gonna say Anubis is I know what the origin of the name Anubis is. Anubis is the Egyptian guardian of the dead, which is a dog, and it is a statue that they would put in tombs. And I have about it's about a 2.5 feet tall statue of it.
It's not a dog. It's a jackal.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? You're both wrong. You're all wrong. We
Also,
all
he
know
was a god.
We all know that Anubis was actually a parasitic alien that inhabited human hosts and traveled through the stars. Get your history right.
I wouldn't doubt it, man.
Wait, what's that from? Is that from
Stargate.
something?
That's Stargate SG-1.
Yeah, it's the entire
Oh,
world
yeah.
of Stargate.
The-
Yeah.
The longest running science fiction show, I think, ever, actually. It went on for, about 300 seasons or something, and it had like 5
It was-
sequels.
300 seasons?
Well,
It went a long time.
It had 10. Its original run had 10 seasons and like 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah, it had, I think it was 10 seasons, 3 or 4 movies, and like 2 successful spin-off series that lasted at least 5 or 6 seasons each. I mean,
the universe lasted like 2 seasons, and then they.
yeah, well, there's always an Enterprise or something that tanks a long-running
Okay, before we derail and get to nerd culture, do we have a?
Well, so what you're saying is, it's there's more of it than Dragon Ball Z.
Well, that's impossible. There's not. There's never there's not as much as there is of episodes of One Piece or something like that. Because I think One Piece is still going.
One Piece is still going.
Yeah, I mean, it will probably continue after the last stars fade, and there's nothing left except a continual production of One Piece episodes.
The author says that he definitely has an ending in mind, but we're only about halfway there, and there's probably 1,000 episodes, I think, at this point, if not more.
Mm.
But Bacon is right. We can't go down the rabbit hole of talking about nerd culture because it won't end.
We need a nerd channel. I always end up taking us to that place.
Yeah, what would we call it? Gaytree nerd key.
The Nerdtriarchy.
The Nerdtriarchy. No, that sounds like nurturing. No, but I don't know. The Rainbow Nerd Connection. I don't. Does it have to be a gay thing specifically, or can it just be?
Yes, that's
okay.
what that is our marketability. That is our niche.
How about just gay nerds?
No, just call it the Revolting Cocks.
Oh God. I could never say something so heinous about something that I love so much.
That's a badass fucking band, man.
Oh yeah, the world is full of really awesome heavy metal band. There are more heavy metal band names than there are heavy metal bands. But there are so many.
I don't even know what to classify. They're classified as a rock band. But if you listen to their music, it's...
What's the name? You cut out for a minute. What's the name again?
It's here. I'll... If I could find which of the 300 fucking tabs I have right now.
I've got them. Hold on.
Oh, you're okay. Anubis, your mic is doing that fucking thing where maybe you have to unplug it and plug it back in. That was happening earlier.
No way.
No. He's just got. It just sounds like he's dropping a little bit of bandwidth. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I got.
Okay.
There's a storm a brewing, and I'm on Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Oh man,
Okay.
did you get any of that wind earlier? Holy fuck.
Dude. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Unreal, bro. Unreal.
What part of the country are you guys in?
Completely different parts and different countries, even.
Both affected by wind.
Relatively the same geographic area.
Well, the hurricane that was hitting Texas was, or not Texas. What the fuck am I on? South, yeah, the Carolinas. It came up and it brushed me, and the ending up in Canada.
Yeah,
where he's at.
Yeah,
he's
kind of sort of in between where the hurricane was and where I am. So it was he would have got a little bit of the tail, but we got hit by some heavy. We had major tornado warnings in the middle of Toronto. So
when the hurricane came to Toronto, did you go out and say the one thing that you have to say, which was "Here I am, rocking like a hurricane"?
That is so lame.
No, because I was
I'm gonna leave
currently scrambling to get off of a fucking. I was currently scrambling to get off of a fucking cherry picker because I was 60 feet in the air.
So you think that your life is more important than screaming the scorpions at an actual hurricane?
Yes.
Did you guys ever see that? Did you ever see that video of that guy who there's wind blowing like crazy, right? It's fucking 80-mile-an-hour wind. And he's standing in the middle of the street shirtless with an American flag in one hand and a beer in the other, just holding it up in the air, proud.
I haven't, but I want to see this man. He sounds like a god. Unless he was ugly, in which case he's just stupid.
I'm imagining him kind of
full-blown mullet and everything, man.
I'm thinking he would be friends with Techno Viking.
Oh, maybe. They might end up just hating each other. Casey.
Casey
and I,
what's up?
I said Casey and I are fully aware of how the Finlandian people and the Norwegian people just hate, utter disdain for anything that's living. Just straight ban in a moment's notice.
Oh yeah, just hi, how you doing? Banned.
Oh man.
But Finnish people, you're saying Finnish people and Norwegians are very censorious, or am I missing the point of this conversation?
They are heavy-handed, let's say.
It's too bad. Nothing. We have we just last week had a guest from Sweden who is on the receiving end of a lot of that kind of heavy-handed Scandinavian liberalism. Although, from what he tells me, the Danes are very much not like that. They are savage as hell.
The Danes are cooked.
I definitely
the Danes are making Muslim people eat pork as part of their culture, and they're like banning the niqab and making fun of the Swedish people for being stupid about the whole thing. No, the Danes are the ones. I mean, like they're getting in trouble for like being so radically anti-Islam right now. They're saying like, "Fuck these refugee terrorists. We're gonna get rid of them."
Well, the big thing with Denmark is they actually have no external debt. So bringing people into the country is just awful for them.
Yeah, they did it literally just so that they could, I don't know, make the other people in the European Union feel happy, or because they felt sorry for them, and they're like, oh wait, maybe it's not such a great idea to bring in people who still think it's the 8th century.
What is going on here?
Those people are horribly oppressed, though, and we have to defend them, even as they're throwing us off a 15-story building.
Yeah, they're oppressed by themselves and their primitive, weird religion.
Oh my god, that's brownophobic.
I know.
Where
are the pictures of the prophet here?
What's up, Anubis?
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Yes.
Oh, why isn't my green stuff lighting up?
I have no idea.
Are you talking about marijuana that will not ignite?
Well,
no.
Those
stupid little.
Your icon.
Your little bubbles are lighting up. Mine don't light up for me either.
No, they were.
No, you have to.
They were lighting.
If you have a box, like if you've clicked on someone, it won't actually show it. You have to click them out so there are no boxes, and then it'll switch.
Oh, you know what it is? It's definitely the fact that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 windows open with something like 800 tabs.
That will do it.
That's probably doing it.
Yeah, he showed me a picture of his desktop before. It was pretty intense.
So wait, desktop is like straight out of Artemis Fowl. Like he just sees all of the things at the same time.
Dude, it took me like I used of course, unresponsive pages. Why not? Finally, there you go. So I use this program called Rainmeter, and I took like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so, every once in a while, just programming the shit out of these skins for Rainmeter. So I have 5 screens, and every screen is loaded with all kinds of crazy fucking shit. News. I get like live video feeds from some places that are interesting to me, uploads from NOAA satellites, all kind of shit, man.
That sounds awesome and incredibly taxing on your computer.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. If you I can't think of the word. If you do a good job with programming, you write it out well, and you don't put a bunch of bullcrap in, and do a bunch of mundane stuff and make your computer just overdrive nonsense.
Optimize.
Optimize the word. It's not that bad. I mean, I think in full bore, right? Like with everything I'm doing and running SolidWorks, like rendering something, I don't really go above like 89% CPU usage, and maybe around 14 gigs of RAM usage total.
Wow.
So, Arturia, or whatever, how do you say it?
Arturia is
Arturia. So you have like 2 different Discord names, I believe, because I hear your voice coming from different avatars. Is that me being crazy, or?
I believe that's you being crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, I got confused then.
I do have 2 different Discord names.
You have you have avatar derangement syndrome.
Okay, but what's Arturia? Like, what is that? I don't know what that is.
That would just be a feminized version of Arthur.
Oh, okay.
He's got a thing for names
King
and
Arthur.
history.
I have an awful thing for King Arthur.
Well, so I wanted to ask you about something specific because we mentioned this earlier. I don't know if this is something that you talk about openly, but you might be slightly a teeny bit not straight. Is that something that?
Yes,
Slightly.
Well, I wanted to wade into the territory.
You should have been privy to that conversation earlier this morning between him, myself, and Jack. Holy crap!
Okay, well, so this is what the audience kind of tunes in for a little bit, is a little bit of gay, like un-PC gay stuff.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. So yeah, that's what we kind of expect.
We don't do tips here. We're all about the DP.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep. So how does your deal work with that? Because I'm curious.
What do you mean?
His deal with the devil?
No, your deal with your vague homosexuality. Like how would you describe yourself?
Well, you go from the butthole to the woman's mouth to the other woman's pussy back to the butthole.
So it's like the human centipede, only without
almost.
Yeah, almost. No. Proper homosexual people would call me greedy. I do not take usually, but I will give.
So, yeah, you're a top.
Yeah.
That's not greedy. That's just decisive.
Oh yeah, I grew up with some of my influences being very how can I say it, open, I suppose. I was always told that to understand how to bottom, you must first bottom. If you cannot, then you do not deserve to give.
That's dumb. That's totally dumb.
I don't know. I think it depends on like you and what and also on the other person, like, and where you're starting. Like, my eyes are always bigger than my stomach. I've only tried bottoming a couple of times. Unfortunately, I'm kind of I'm not kind of, I'm a huge size queen. So you, like, in the few times where I've been like, okay, maybe I'll try that, it's always like, well, why did I decide to go from 0 to 900 in like 10 seconds or less? So
yeah, no, there's definitely wisdom to that, and ultimately you're going to be a way better top if you have bottomed.
If you understand.
Yeah. But you can definitely also learn to feel the difference between a relaxed butthole and a not relaxed butthole. And it's not exactly rocket science, to notice the difference and to like help it get relaxed,
I punch it.
All you really need is a little bit of a slap and a little bit of spit, and you're good. That's all. Really.
Or a cattle prod.
Well, there's actually
cattle prod.
I looked at one of these horrible trashy gay blogs because it was like an excerpt from a book called How to Bottom Like a Porn Star. And one of the things they said, which actually, I mean, I haven't tried it, but it kind of actually really makes sense, is that what you do in order to really, 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 without poppers, to get your butt to relax, is you have the dick handy, like it's right by there, right? And you have it sort of start like rubbing on the end, and then you clench your butthole as tight as possible, like make sure it is absolutely tight as possible for about 20 seconds or so, and do your best, and then after about 20 seconds you will get tired of clenching. And then the dick can just sort of slip right in because it gets exhausted, sort of working out that sort of way of the muscle. But I've never tried it, but it makes sense, right?
It's a shame that this isn't an illustrated podcast.
I can see how that would make sense. Kind of like when you're flexing your arm or whatever for a long time, and then you let go, and it's a little bit looser after. It's just like stretching, right?
Yeah.
I just had to come back at the time when we're talking about unclenching your assholes and maybe getting an animated podcast.
There's all if you want to play a fun game with the Gaytriarchy, just randomly turn the volume like off for like 10 seconds and then turn it back on and then try to fit the conversation back together. Well, it can go to some very interesting places.
I'm really glad I went and got whiskey for this.
Dude, Oh
I'm gonna
my
need some
god!
whiskey.
Look at what Rogue just posted in the
I
Discord
don't
here.
want to look what
I'll-
Rob just posted in the Discord.
I'll put it in this chat. You guys check the. Look at this shit.
Is
Wait,
finger
where did he
snapping
post
about
it?
to occur? You just put it in.
I put it
what?
in the chat. I put it in the chat here.
Is it the Fanatics thing?
Legally a cuck? What? I don't understand.
Oh my god.
I don't think I'm internet literate enough. Like, this feels like?
Maddox is sort of like the original internet edgelord, apparently.
Oh, God, that's right. Yes. Back in my Aiden Paladin days, I remember she did do a video about him.
This is fucking hilarious. Wow.
They're actually trying to make it the legal case. Like, can you? Oh my god, that's hilarious! Someone actually.
This has got to be the Onion. You know what the Onion
Well,
is, right?
it's called lulz.com.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. There. Well, there you go then.
Yeah,
We was Meadowcurve.
it's
Yeah, I don't know anything.
That takes care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally
It's
like an
funny
Onion
though.
thing.
It's a funny read for sure.
It's that.
I'm laughing on the
Definitely funny.
inside.
I'm dead on the inside.
Aren't
So,
we all? If you're on
I
this
wanna-
podcast, you're definitely dead inside.
I want to steer things back to the male bisexuality topic a little bit because one of the things that I have noticed, and I guess if you're going around occasionally sticking your dick in guys, you these are bisexual men because there's women involved. Like apparently you said that you don't pursue men outside of the context of sex with women.
Yeah.
And what I have noticed from bisexual guys, and maybe this is the guys that I have gotten to know that are bisexual, is that they tend to be bottoms. And it's this weird thing where if they're going to fuck, like if they're going to stick their dick in something, they want it to be a vagina. But they value getting fucked too. Have you run into a fair amount of these guys?
I mean, to be fair, in my circumstance, all of them are bottoms. Regardless, they're all very submissive, even to their partners.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't know. It's hard for me to comment on that because I've never seen. I've never actually pursued a bisexual man, right? So it's always been somebody who's been.
But have you ever run into a top bisexual?
No. Because like my experience is through cucking. Like
The real question is, did you ever lick a butthole?
I have many. Usually not
A man's butthole.
Usually not male.
Usually not.
Depends on how soft they are.
I'm not really into buttholes myself. I mean, they're
I
definitely
lick all
in
sorts of buttholes.
they're useful, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a nurse. Like it's like, okay, no, I can do the whole condom thing, and maybe the finger thing if I'm really poppered up. But generally speaking, it's like, nah, I'm good. I know what happens there.
Yeah, same here. I don't want to get food poisoning.
Oh, that is that.
Oh, there's always mouthwash.
Yeah, they need ass washes. But if I see them, if I know for a fact that they've douched like right prior, it's something that might be considerable.
Maybe
but
if they
just
do
some,
with Listerine.
yeah, oh, there you go.
I'm
That
not-
is a kink.com right there.
That's like Mentos girl level of how burning.
Mentos girl.
That's where you put the coke in the girl's vagina, and then you insert a
Then stuff it with
That's a
Mentos,
real.
yeah.
That's a real fucking.
video. That's a
That
real thing.
actually happened, dude. These fucking nasty ass looking dudes, fucking did that. So nasty.
That's
Wait,
I'm not even.
sorry. What is Mentos Girl? I don't know what this is.
You know the Coke and Mentos experiment, right? Where you
yeah.
put Mentos and it like explodes everywhere. There is
my
a
God.
video in the deeper, darker parts of the internet where a couple of dudes do this to a woman using her vagina.
Prince, I just I sent you
so
an
they
invite.
put Mentos and Coke in her vagina.
And it does the.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I sent
Okay,
Prince. I
see
sent
it.
you I sent you an invite. I sent you an invite to my server, and the video is on there. You
Oh
got
my
to scroll up
God.
a bit.
Okay,
Or
I'm
Casey
gonna take your word for it. I'll do it later because I'm not gonna like sit here and do a like react video where you don't get to see my face because I think that's boring. But
Oh wow,
that's
it's incredibly easy to find. I just found
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'll take a look at that at some point.
But yeah, Mentos girl is a real thing, and
Yep.
putting Listerine in your butthole, I feel would hurt a lot.
Also,
Most definitely.
Oh,
we
I've
should
done
probably.
it. I've done it. I just
Wait,
remembered.
You
So
put Listerine
List-
up your asshole.
yeah, I
Were you in
did.
your
I
butt?
did.
Were you like? Were you trying to get
not
drunk
like up
off
my
it?
asshole. No, I'll tell you exactly what. I'll tell you guys the story. So,
Oh, God.
it was the Stanford. It wasn't like in my butthole, but okay. So, no, but I can tell you the story. So, and by the way, a major portion of the Gaytriarchy streams, like I would say, a good like 5 to 10% consists of me telling stories of the crazy crap I did in San Francisco when I lived in San Francisco for 7 years.
Oh, let's be honest, it's about 40%.
Only on the good episodes. Only on the good episodes. So this was one of the Folsom street fairs. Back when I used to do drugs and stuff. So I like took some MDMA, and I was wearing. I think this was Folsom. Yeah, it had to have been Folsom because there was a lot of females there. And I met these girls because I thought there was this one black girl who was her outfit was like this like kind of like stonewashed denim cat suit, and then she had an ankh on her, which I thought was really fabulous because I was a gay hipster at the time because this was years ago. And yeah, so because you know it was like now it would be pretty cringy, but like at the time it was kind of
crying.
So I met this girl while like as soon as I was getting high, her and I were like waiting for some like go to go into this like little store that they had like a deli type store, and they're like I don't know what I was getting, like cigarettes or something, and she was getting something. So I was talking to her in the line, and I was like, oh my god, your outfit is cool. And I was going to this party that was this party for gay guys to go this being the Folsom Street Fair, which is like the kink, the world's biggest kink fair that exists. And so I invited her to come, and she had 2 other girls with her. I didn't even fucking know any of them. And so they all came with me, and it was cool and everything, and I wanted them to have a good time. And as soon as we get in there, there's like just like we get in this room because we wanted to have an overhead view of the fair, and there was this one room that was about 2 stories up, and you could see all the people from above. Well, the room that was like that was like the group sex room. So there's dudes just like fucking each other, like right in front of these girls. And they're kind of like pretending like it's normal, you know, like they're like, okay, whatever. And granted, they live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So they have likely seen it before. We are standing there, and then I'm like, okay, one of the things that happens to you when you do MDMA is that you have to shit, like right when you are starting to get higher. And so I had to run to the bathroom and totally take a shit. And I must have not really ate a whole bunch that day. Like maybe I had a few beers and like a small meal. And so it was just this like, you know, kind of Mentos girl sort of a thing that happened, you know, like it was, and like to the point where I was like, oh my god, and I was scared that it you know, I was like, did it splatter anywhere? And I had to like look at the toilet, and so it was mostly fine. It's not like it got on the floor or anything, but it certainly kind of like got on my hairy asshole, like all around my hairy butt a bit, and I was like, oh fuck. And so I sat there like wiping for a while, and I wasn't sure if I got everything off, and I'm all high and shit, like I'm like really high on MDMA. And so I got up and I started like trying to like clean, you know, with a little bit of like water and soap, and I really just wasn't sure. So there was some like Listerine that was handy because, you know, this is a sex party place, and they always have like minty fresh Listerine handy. And so I decided that I was gonna put some in my hand and like splash it all around on my asshole to like make sure that I was good. And yeah, it stung.
What the fuck?
It stung. It did. But at the same time, I was high, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And then the funny part is, I get out of there and I go and I see this other girl that I knew, and she's like, "Oh, good to see you. Oh, you smell so good. You smell all like minty fresh." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'll tell you exactly why that is." And I told her the whole. I told her.
Oh, good lord!
And she was like, "Uh-huh."
I'm never going to talk to you again. I'm going to go start a hashtag. I'm totally going to start a hashtag about this conversation right now.
But at the same time, there was literally like people fucking about 10 feet in front of her, so I don't think it shocked her all that much.
I don't know. There's psychologically, there's quite the transition for most people between sex and poop.
No, but it was in the context of my minty freshness.
Your minty fresh asshole.
At least if anybody wanted to eat it, it'd be fucking minty fresh.
No, I didn't illustrate it. All I said was, I went to the bathroom and I kind of had to go number 2, and it was bad. So I made sure to clean up after myself in every way possible, and I'm glad it smells good. And she's like, "Okay, let's change the subject."
Yeah. No, there is one way that could have been worse, though. Her eyes could have gotten wide. She could have gotten close, and she said, "Tell me more."
Yeah. That would have been a
No, don't leave. I need to know. Can I see it myself? Can I taste the freshness?
Oh,
so, okay, I want to know.
Now you know how she probably felt.
I want to know how you meet these couples.
So do I. It kind of just happened. You know what I mean? Like you just it just happens. There's no way that I can really explain it. Like you'll be in a bar or whatever and start flirting with a girl, and you realize she's got a ring, and she's flirting back, and it just happens.
Okay.
It's not. There are definitely communities to meet them. Like you can meet them on like FetLife or stuff like that. But like there's no.
But you don't actually pursue it. It just ends up happening.
Yes, most of the time.
You must be hot. I want to see pictures of you.
I'm not that attractive. I'm just very large.
Yeah, the great equalizer. Yeah, I must admit there have been times where I have gone to Steamworks or something, and there'll be some guy coming up on the dais, and I'm like, all right, not so much. And then the towel comes off, and then my eyes rolled it in the back of my skull, and before I know it, we're back in his room.
Well, did you guys ever see that ogre from 4chan TV? The guy, he just wanted to talk about his Mad Max DVD, and everybody was busting on him for his hands.
I don't think I saw that. No.
That's Casey in a nutshell. Just wants to talk about his fucking DVD. The people can't leave him alone.
To give you context, I'm 6'6". I'm about 220 rough pounds. My feet are size 18.
Wait,
wow.
Wait, tell me. Start from the beginning. I missed the first part. You're 6 what?
6.
6'6".
And a half. Yep.
Okay.
Oh wow, you're tall.
Yeah. Roughly 220 pounds. Size 17, 18 feet, depending on if it's a shoe or if it's a boot. I'm tall.
Are you attempting to seduce us? Because it might be working.
Also, question: does Canada use a different shoe size system like Europe, or do they use the same?
Right.
That system.
Okay.
Dude, if he holds his fucking hand out, right, just spread your fingers apart, you can't even fit a 12-inch fucking ruler on his hand. His hand is bigger than a fucking 12-inch ruler.
Yeah, it's about 13 to 14 inches depending on the day. My hand.
And is your equipment proportionate to the rest of you?
I think that's
yes.
I think that's the finale of this this train of thought.
Of course,
Better watch out, Casey. You're getting a bunch of fucking dudes a little riled here.
Yeah, well, that happens every time I talk to Jack. So,
But wait, but
Oh, fucking A.
here's what I've noticed about guys who have hot bodies and or well endowed, and in particular both. And I've had photos to prove exactly what I'm saying. They don't mind talking about it, and they will often send you pictures because they are proud.
I like to show off. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we challenge you to live up to that challenge.
Just not on
Don't
screen.
don't say we. You did. I
At
might
least-
later.
I am
Dinner.
using the royal we, as is my prerogative.
At least
Okay.
when we did- Well, let's put it this way: I could put both of my hands on it, and it would still show.
Okay, I think I'm going to log off now and possibly find, where are my poppers?
Beat it, beat it,
Oh,
beat
oh,
it.
Oh no, this
beat
isn't a
it.
beat it. This isn't a beat it situation. This is I need to go to Berkeley and get a locker.
Oh, Berkeley.
Oh my god, I'm on the other side of the fucking country, right? And I'm driving. I had to go pick something up, which was far away from my house. And I see, you know how they have those stupid fucking billboards that, you know, they're like screens and they change as you're driving. Just like, why isn't that illegal? Anyway, there was fucking an ad for Berkeley College, and it said, it said Berkeley to build a better future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they can just clean up the needles and the piss in their subway stations, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, that's a great fucking future, man. I can't wait for my kids.
Yeah, I'd love to see a future built by Berkeley. Oh wait, we wouldn't, because all we'd have is a bunch of really greasy people gathering together and trying to discuss like what was the appropriate way to build it and what materials were ethical. And oh my god, I can't believe you just talked to me with that language, and it just regressed back into some sort of even more primitive tribal civilization. But they'd have excellent pronoun usage.
Yeah, I would. One thing if I could have one wish for Berkeley, it would be if we could take our navy, drag it out into the middle of the Pacific, and make it its own island, because they desperately want to be that. But it would sink, and then we'd all be happy, and then we'd get new land to develop.
No, so I think what we really should do with Berkeley is we need to remove the science and the law, the actual useful good parts of the school, and then we need to take the city council and the rest of the people who form all the various professionally offended busybody committees that is the rest of Berkeley, and do you know what neutron bombs do to human flesh?
Yeah, doesn't it sterilize everything?
Yes, and I think that we could pay for this by using a neutron bomb and then selling the footage.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be the ultimate feminist wrecked video.
Well,
literally feminist vaporized.
Well, I was thinking we could actually do a witch trial, because they desperately want, hashtag Me Too, the Salem bitch trial. They want to have Salem bitch trial, so we should take them and do the witch test, where if they drown, they're not a witch, but if they don't drown, they are a witch, so we light them on fire.
They get off on the whole idea of their persecution complex of them actually being persecuted. I mean, they might have just one like collective virtue signaling like orgasm, and they'd go out happy.
Well,
if they virtue signaled themselves to death, I would be happy with that. Either way, they would stop being a problem.
True, but I don't want them to enjoy it.
So people should remember though that Berkeley, if the whole world worked like Berkeley, it would all have to have perfect weather and endless rich people to leech off of. And let's imagine all of the great worlds that are like that. I can't imagine any of them. So never mind. But I do want to mention, speaking of the Salem bitch trials, I wrote out, I didn't have time to do this. I'm going to make it as my video tomorrow. I wrote out a video, and I think this is kind of a good idea. And it involves a very big dick. I wrote out
they do.
I wrote out my hashtag Me Too moment, which granted I've had several. I have been the victim of several sex crimes. But I'm also a gay guy who used to party a lot and did not give a crap, so like it's not like I would.
Did you party like it's 1999?
I literally did party in 1999. I literally I did.
Dude,
But
I
I
was a
was-
child in 1999.
Same here.
Yeah, I was waiting for everything to shut off, just fucking go dark, and then nukes just going off everywhere, and everybody knew, dude. Everybody knew deep down that was bullshit, right? But the fucking media hyped it up so much last minute that it was insanity.
Yeah, well, they had entire, departments based around the
Yeah, only because of the media started hyping it up and people started going nuts. Like when the public goes nuts, the government has to do something, right? Just to reassure them.
Well, I thought what was worse was the fucking 2012 fucking shit.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
the Mayan calendar.
Because people really believe that shit, and it was annoying. I lived in San Francisco in 2012, and it actually got under my skin.
Well,
but
dude, you're talking about is the same type of people nowadays that fucking they know. Oh, man.
No, you're cutting out.
Oh man, they said they know that the world is flat.
Oh yeah, well no, they know that Trump is literally Hitler, and that we are all everybody on YouTube is secretly actors trying, like, we have this very sinister, cleverly hidden way of trying to convert people into fascism, and we try to sound personable, but it's all a con. The same fucking gullible like types of like wackos. But
before I was exposed to YouTube, I used to be an organic vegan who never did anything to anyone, and now I literally drink the blood of children.
Wait, you were a vegan? Oh my god, really?
Only for like a week.
Oh god, I would only last a week too. I'd probably interact with the vegan forum, go, you know what, fuck all of you, I'm going to KFC and getting a bucket of chicken.
The real question is, can vegans swallow?
No, because it's animal products. No, they cannot.
Well,
even a deeper question there is swallowing cannibalism.
Hey, we got sidetracked because I was saying something. In between me chewing my kale quinoa salad, which I am literally eating right now. Yeah.
You are so.
Don't worry though, I'm gonna follow it with a slice of cheesecake that I also got, so don't you worry.
I've never heard of a more liberal thing to eat.
God,
I know.
I live in California, and I'm like, God, I don't even want to eat that.
No, I don't either. I'm just trying to eat healthy.
God,
It's not very good. It's not like it's tasty or anything. But anyhow, so my #MeToo story, which I'm gonna tell, I'll give you guys the brief. This is what I'm doing with it. I'm gonna tell the story, leaving out a few key details to make it sound as crappy as possible. Now, granted, it was pretty fucking awkward. It was this guy that I've known for I've talked about him several times. The sociopath that I used to be friends with, who had an extremely large penis, who I knew for, like over 20 years. And he was always interested in having sex with me, and I never was interested in having sex with him. I was more attractive than him. I always got more guys. And he had a weird complex where he thought he was inferior to me. And I was like, why don't you not think about it? Because we're supposed to be friends, and he could never get over it. And I think that maybe he would have felt a little bit better about his inferiority complex if he could just do me one time. So he kept trying to have sex with me. And the one thing he had on me was that he had a bigger dick than I do. Now, granted, I have like guys say my dick is big, but it's not all like crazy shit, and that's what he has. Now, granted, I would never let somebody with a dick like his in my butt. It's too big. So it's actually not preferable for me. Some guys like it though. Some guys like it a lot. So anyhow, there was this one night that some guys came over to our house, my apartment, my studio apartment, and we ended up after partying till probably about 3:30 or so, and then all the other guys left, and one of them he had been fooling around with in my bed, which it's San Francisco, crap like that happens all the time. But this is my little studio apartment. There's no other beds or anything, no sofa. It's just like some chairs, a desk for a computer, and this bed that I have. And so he's in the bed, and I'm sitting there talking to him, and then I decide that I want to get in the bed because it's cold and late. And then he starts kind of like masturbating. I can feel the blanket moving up and down. And I'm like, oh, this is awkward. So I decide to like turn away from him. And he takes that as an invitation to start kind of cock slapping me on the small of my back. And so I tell the story, and I'm like, it was very violating. I never thought that somebody that I trusted and blah, 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 blah would do this. And I would have kicked him out, but he was a friend that I had known for a very long time. And I would have left, but it was my apartment. Oh, my God. And then I'm going to be like, and here's what really happened. What really happened is that I was we were on MDMA, and we were all hanging out, and all this time passed, and he was fooling around with this guy. And then we come down, and I get cold, and I want to get into bed, and he gets horny, because that's what happens when you come down from stimulants. Commonly, you get horny. And so he wasn't thinking very clearly, because he was coming down from this drug, and I turned away from him, and he couldn't tell that I was actually sitting there giggling to myself for the 20 minutes that he was cock slapping me. I think that he didn't understand that I was seriously laughing and just being like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do. And then I think finally he heard me giggle. And that is when he eventually stopped. And that's the story. And so I'm going to be like, look, the point is that depending upon how you tell the story, you can make a lot of sexual encounters or botched sexual encounters sound like a fucking Me Too moment. And so
you can make someone screwing up your order at Taco Bell sound like a Me Too moment.
Please,
like,
man.
Please, I can turn that sardine can of a dumpster called Bart into a fucking Me Too moment. I mean, seriously, I got sexually assaulted by some hipster bitch's bike today, so just saying.
Did you enjoy it?
No, it was a bike. Those fuckers shouldn't even be allowed on the trains.
I think you enjoyed it, and you're just kink shaming yourself.
No, I would have rather have thrown that bike off the platform, just saying.
But bikes are good for the environment.
Yeah, the environment can go fuck when it's taking up space on a train.
You think you're so awesome, environment, with your space. But I need space too.
Well, that is the point of the environment. I need my space, and honestly, having a bike seat up my ass is kind of not what I want when I'm the one on the train.
I don't know. I think you're just confused.
I am confused while I'm drunk, but not confused.
Mm-hmm.
She was a bitch, and then luckily she got off in one stop.
oh my God, I hate eating this fucking salad. I just want it to be in my stomach. It's horrible.
Because it's fucking kale. Of course you hate eating it.
Yeah.
I think kale.
Isn't kale like
See,
the version of lettuce?
I didn't have time to make my salad. Like I make little mixed green salads and I throw in good stuff, but I didn't have time, so I got the crap that they had behind the deli, and it's not good.
Dude, I can't tell if he photoshopped that
And
beer
you're
up to
done.
him or not.
What happened?
I'm laughing about this fucking guy, and
He's looking at some other shit.
I can't tell if he photoshopped the beer on the table or not.
It's floating. No, it's a Stella glass. It's a Stella glass. You can see the stem.
Okay, now class, if you're going to be passing notes, you need to share with the rest
Yeah.
of us.
Wait a minute. I think this sounds like
Hold on.
It's an inside joke, really. It's an inside joke with this fucking psychopath.
So I don't know if that link will work or not. But there's this guy on Sargon of Akkad
Oh my
server
God.
who is just the most out to lunch person I have ever seen.
Dude,
That
he's
is-
not out. He's fucking out to the universe. He's.
I feel like I understand who this person like.
Oh god.
okay. Well, wait,
That
is-
somebody
That is actually
somebody
him.
screen share him. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
can take a
I'm-
look at it.
I'm gonna do that
Oh,
right
so-
now.
So, and then you guys can explain the context, because
Here, I'm gonna do it right now.
I have to say there are some pretty wacky
We better
people
fucking-
in Discord. Like
You better watch out, because he might fucking might get a grudge and come fucking find us or something.
Can you guys see it? Can you guys see it right now?
Nope.
I thought it was. Oh wait, no, because I have to wait. Oh no, I got it.
Yeah, there's a
Here we-
screen share.
Here we go.
Oh, God.
But no, this image, this man in this image is actually the person posting this image.
Bacon, will you present him to everyone?
I'm
Yeah,
already
he's-
doing it.
Hey,
I don't
I'm
know,
doing the thing
like-
at the speed of drunk. Hold on.
I'm already
No.
screen
You're
sharing it.
screen sharing. Bacon has to present you to everyone.
I did that.
Oh,
At some point, I can't I kind of think him and Epic Win are the same guy because they're both just so.
But what? So what is his deal though? Like I don't understand.
His deal is he's like ultra right. He believes he's genetically engineered from superior Jewish genes to make the perfect white person.
so he's a wait. He's a Jewish white supremacist.
Yes.
That
What the fuck? He's
Awesome.
something else, man.
He has come on into voice chats several times, and the way he speaks is much like this, where you feel as though he is entirely trying to talk down to you, and you must listen.
The first day
isn't a troll.
No,
he's for real. He's 100% for real. Like 100% for real.
It's unreal.
The first day the server was even started, right? Literally the first day, he comes on and V gets him on a live stream, and it was pretty good. Oh God, he says some crazy shit in server, man.
He literally has this like he advocates for like this ultra right wing level like dismantling of the left. Like he will not stop until they're basically dead. Like,
and he posts like nonstop Templar shit. Like he made himself a little Templar ring and everything. It's good stuff.
He has an image, and it's like it's text superimposed over himself, and it says the only rape I accept is that of Antifa minds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not so bad though.
No, it wouldn't be so bad if like the image accompanying it wasn't.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And then there's
there was that.
There's the other one with it's his face, and it's got the Terminator red eye, you know, like when half of his face, the machine had that going on. That says, "Come with me if you want to meme."
That is
It's
funny.
honestly
I would settle
I
for
can't.
come with me.
Oh goodness. Well, there's that. I know I'm normally the one that derails the conversation.
Oh, dude, we were laughing. Casey and I were DMing each other, fucking cracking up.
Where did the stream go? Here's the one that Anubis was just talking about specifically. Is that one?
Okay. Oh, jeez. All right, that's fairly funny. Just I will admit you don't really need context.
He did. Did he actually make that?
Yeah,
that's him. That's his
He
face.
made it
Wait,
about
so
himself.
he means
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
That's I will say
yeah.
I'll give him credit for being original.
that's why I'm really up against the wall of him being the same guy as Epic Win, because Epic Win, he made a Know Your Meme page and a wiki page about himself.
Oh my god!
And then he got banned. He got banned from server, and he like bragged about it on his wiki page, and people on there were like, you know, there's comments enabled. People were on there like, dude, this is sad, man. You're hurting yourself in ways that you can't possibly understand. It was funny.
Short Fat Otaku had this like 2-hour stream that he did that I don't really follow this whole story because I was never like a big actual fanboy of Jim, Mr. Medicare, but so I guess Jim has had like something like 10 different channels apparently. Like I didn't know it was that many. And he keeps coming up with reasons to like nuke his channel, but like a lot of the time it's just because he wants to like get rid of the channel and start over from scratch because reasons like weird, complicated, like crazy. I don't know. I don't even want to get into why. Because I don't even think I could give a good explanation for it. But one of the times that he did it, he apparently, and you should watch Short Fat Otaku's stream. It's like 2 hours, and he talked to this kid that used to be one of Jim's little minions like 10 years ago. And he said that one of the times that Jim nuked his channel, it was because Jim claimed to have been doxxed and like or maybe like hacked, and like somebody broke into Jim's account, you know, writing and being like, oh, by the way, I'm totally gay and blah 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 blah, and like, you know, and then Jim said, oh my god, I got hacked and now I have to delete my channel, right? Except for they found out that it was actually Jim who did it to himself to make it look like he got hacked, and he like wrote this like long thing like pretending to be another guy imitating him, and it was this very like elaborate like way of it was like, oh my god,
that's next level.
You'd have to actually watch because they had the actual text of it and they were like reading through it, and it was and he's like, yeah, can you imagine that they figured out that he actually wrote this about himself?
It sounds like the kind of thing that he would himself make a video about. Like,
yeah, no, they kept saying that. They kept saying like, when is the internet insanity version of like if he wasn't if there was two Jims, the other Jim could make a video about him called Internet Insanity. But I'm not the I don't know much about it. I didn't follow it. People should watch that.
That's pity Spaceman isn't here. He'd probably know absolutely everything about it.
Honestly, yeah. I hate that entire side of the internet entirely. Like,
it gets old.
Well, it's like you're doing drama just for drama's sake because you know it brings views and shit, you know. It's like there's doing stuff, you know, because you know in your heart that even the littlest, tiniest amount of fight that you put up will make a change in some way, right? And then there's just wasting all of your time with drama, bullshit, insanity.
Yeah, it's like the drama for drama's sake, like where these people engage with the internet as if it's all just one big game. Like it's like they're, instead of playing The Sims, they play the internet, except for the internet involves real people. And then they start mixing with people who actually care about things, and it becomes this really weird thing, you know. Like the main way that I got involved in that drama stuff was that they were attacking innocent people who either were my friends or I greatly admired and then became friends with. Like, they were trying to lie about specific people, and I was like, wait, I know that you're full of crap. And so I spoke up, and then I became, you know, attacked by this like weird side of the internet. And it is really a shame, but at the same time, like, this type of behavior, there's always going to be that type of behavior out there, you know, like roaming gangs of teenagers who decide to beat up homeless people for no reason, and then occasionally they kill one, you know, like shit like that. So like, I don't know what to say.
The problem I have with that kind of mentality is kind of the same problem I have with trolls in the broader sense, which is probably why I don't really understand 4chan. There's an entire segment of people that I think the way that they cope with the sort of like, I don't know, existential angst of life and all of this crazy, weird shit that doesn't make sense is by treating everything like it's just some joke and saying that it's hilarious, when in reality it's just a coping mechanism for, you know, feeling small and weak and sad and powerless. And so they turn everything into a joke so that they don't have to take anything seriously. And, you know, it's okay. It's a kind of a sophomoric defense mechanism, if you ask me. But the problem I have with that mentality isn't so much, I think, like, you know, that I'm myself or anyone else is necessarily better than that. It's just that I can't have a serious conversation with someone who doesn't believe in serious conversations. like it's not that every conversation has to be some sort of like deep, like, oh my god, look at this, and like let's just meditate on this. But the kind of people who treat everything like it's just one big joke, like it's just like, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if we just fooled everyone and like made like it so that it's really hard to know what's going on and hoax everything. It's like, okay, thanks. You've just muddied up the waters and made it difficult for anyone who actually wants to know something or talk about anything. Impossible.
Yeah.
Which is why I can't have a conversation with my dad or most libertarians.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that attitude that you're describing a lot when playing Overwatch, because I play a lot of Overwatch and encounter random people that I end up talking to on a headset as teammates, and we're supposed to be doing something together. And I really think that you can actually boil it down to two types of people in this case. Like, I hate those people that say, oh, there's two types of people in this world, but I think this is one of these things where it actually really applies, where if for whatever reason things aren't going your way, like you're losing in Overwatch or whatever, you can just sort of decide to attack everybody else and blame other people on the team for the fact that you're losing, which is the easy thing to do, and like try to start ordering your teammates around and being like, will you change? You're not getting any kills. And it's like, maybe just the enemy is really, really good because he's killing you too, so, but there, you run into those guys all the time, and they start complaining. They start trying to order you around, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are all trash." And it's like, yeah, well, you sat there complaining, starting in about 45 seconds into an 8-minute match. So we're not going to win if you sit there complaining the whole time. Obviously, like that brings the whole team down. Then there's the other type of person who realizes that first you have to think, okay, what am I doing wrong? How could we coordinate together? How do I talk to these people that I don't know to better achieve our goals? And there's all these various things that you have to keep in mind, but it's really, really difficult to do the right thing. And so many people, it's like they've never even learned all of the various different steps towards doing the right thing, because it's not like there's one right way to do it. It's like there's, a right path of many, many, many options of like what is the best thing to do in any given circumstance. And you have to, there's times in which you have to be firm and like yell at your teammates and be like,
you gotta be firm, all right.
Like there's times in which like let's say you're playing Torbjorn in Overwatch, who he builds a turret, right? The turret automatically shoots any enemy that it can see. Well, if there's a Zarya on the team, Zarya is this girl, and she can put a bubble up around her. And anytime the bubble gets shot, it charges her weapon. And if her weapon gets really, really charged, then she can just plow through people. And so if there's a good Zarya on the enemy team and there's a Torbjorn, she knows that she can just walk right into the fire and charge up her weapon, and then she's just this like super powered, unstoppable bitch. And so if that's happening, you sometimes just got to yell at your teammate, get off Torbjorn right now, you're charging the Zarya and she's fucking us up. Like, I've done that before. That is useful.
Complete counterpoint to that. Yeah. Most high-level players actually say that it's better to pop the bubble as fast as possible because she gets less powered time. If you leave her to just do damage, she does more overall damage than the time that she has from charge from the bubble. We're actually better off to try and pop that bubble as fast as possible.
And just be, okay.
You heard it here on the Gaytriarchy, folks.
Interesting point. Yeah, because I've noticed actually, like I've been bordering on Diamond. I haven't quite, I got into a 35 points away from Diamond over the past week or so. But so I'm playing with a lot of Diamond players, and I've noticed them just like trying to just plow through the Zaryas like that, and I've been a little bit surprised, but now that makes sense. So, but regardless, like there's times in which you say that because it's like urgent, like because a Torbjorn doesn't apply, the turret doesn't do that much damage, but it does consistent damage, so it's not going to burst the bubble. It is going to charge her, and if she's getting really charged and just like kicking your ass, then sometimes you immediately got to get that guy to stop playing Torbjorn, and it's worth it to be like, stop. But at the same time, most situations, you need to think to yourself, okay, look, I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know him. He might be a totally nice guy, and maybe he'll cooperate if I talk to him nicely. And you have to, like, know the best ways of talking to him nicely. And you have to weigh the pros and the cons of, like, if you're going to do that, if you're not going to do that. And there's a, you know, like a long list, like a toolkit of like 30, 40 different things that you learn how to do with when you're dealing with random people that you're sort of trying to cooperate with. Like, seriously, on YouTube, we all have the shared goal of wanting freedom of speech. That's why we're all here. You know, like, we all want to be able to talk about something. That's why we all came here. And theory, like, even the crappiest of the blood sports people that, you know, like, I like absolutely don't like, they still want that. They want to be able to go on these live streams and just start lying about people. Like, that's what they want. But they're so strange, and they want to point fingers and make this like game of playing, you know, blaming other people for whatever. And it's like, you guys, it would be possible that we decide upon a shared goal, an objective, which would be maintaining free speech on the internet, and we try to stick to that. But for whatever reason, these people are unhappy. It's not going the way that they want, and they would prefer to just attack certain people, and it's really a shame.
I think it's because, from what I've gathered, it seems like a lot of the blood sport type people, not even so much like the individual YouTubers, I mean them too, but the kind of mentality of people that both watch and produce blood sport content, they again are very much in that whole idea where like everything's a joke. So they think on the one hand, you might hear them say free speech is, you know, important, but they don't like it when anyone basically tries to make it serious or constructive, because that involves, you know, again, being serious. I mean, like, you know, that it just doesn't seem like, and granted, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like a lot of the blood sport content that I've seen would necessarily involve people talking about important concepts. In fact, there seems to be a recurring meme of, like, you know, making fun of big brain people, like anyone who, which I understand it's a slur for people that, you know, think they're smarter than they are, but it's also kind of a sort of like sleight of hand against anyone who is, again, trying to be serious or constructive.
Oh, no. There's a lot of anti-intellectualism in that crowd. Like, if you ever write, like, if they lie about somebody on stream and you decide to correct that, like, in the comments, like, write, like, hey, so they said these things and this is what actually happened. Then they start making fun of you for, like, is anybody going to read that wall of text? Oh, God, these fucking people write a novel. And it's like, you just sat there for 3 hours lying about people. They're not allowed to respond ever. So yeah, no, they do. There's a, but, you know, honestly, ultimately, I don't want to get into the motives of, like, why they do what they do. But and that's a sidetrack anyway. But I think ultimately it is really a shame that there are some people that legitimately get into the mindset of just this strange, like, nihilistic anarchist internet mentality, when ultimately they just want to be able to, like, talk the same as everybody else does, but they don't know how to achieve their goals, and I guess some people say, well, I don't care, like, nothing matters, and it's like,
which is just a cop out.
Yeah, it's a cop out. But we should change the subject, because I hate even, like, expending intellectual energy on them. Because they bore me.
Yeah, I know. Not to mention, they can't send hate super chats at us on this channel.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's at the South Pole.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck's sake.
So Anubis is totally not into conspiracy theories, and I don't know about Arturia, but there was some, like, weather signal thing that he was telling me about. I don't know. Why don't you talk about that?
Now, these guys, this motherfucker here. So it all started when I was looking for a meme that I was going to post in chat a long ass time ago, like
3 months ago.
Yeah. And I was looking for this meme, and I was scrolling down my meme folder with thousands of fucking pictures in it. And I just seen this interesting screenshot I took of documents that were released by the CIA, and it was basically a chart that was, like when you're in a U-boat or a submarine or whatever, there's like a safe, and it has your back in the day they used to do it like this. It would have the safe would have your mission statement and everything, and there's 2 keys, and you need like the captain and the first mate to open it, and you're only supposed to open it when you get a signal from the radio from headquarters or whatever. So in the case of a certain signal being sent out to the U-boats, all the U-boats had in a lockbox in the safe another document which was like a Nazi map, basically, to some crazy thing, navigational charts for navigating through some weird columns in the ice in Antarctica. So I just decided it would be interesting, since it came across as I was scrolling, to post it in chat. And that devolved into literally like 4 fucking hours of just conspiracy theory shit going back and forth with like 10 people for hours. Like, why don't they just show the pictures from down there? And all, like, it was just crazy. All kind of stuff came about of that.
It went on for so long that the sun
it's still going on.
The sun was up, and then it was up again.
Yeah, and it's still going on to this day. All the people that were involved in that original conversation, but like the thing to come out of it was like a lot of the people didn't even never even knew that there was weird shit going on down there. So they started researching it on their own, and just about all of them came to me like a week later or so and was like, hey, you remember that Antarctica shit we were fucking busting on you about last week? Well, I got to looking into it, and there's some weird shit going on. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, you spend fucking like hours and hours fucking railing on me for conspiracy theories, then you actually go look.
I was not one of those people.
Yeah, he was definitely not, because you're a fucking commie.
I'm not a communist.
Your flag would say otherwise. Or Avatar.
No.
Oh, they were. No, he was talking about that earlier, about how it's actually like in Canada land, it's a like right-wing party, I believe you said, correct?
Well, they need to be less tone deaf.
The day of the rake. The day of the rake is coming soon, buddy. Soon.
Yeah, okay.
Are there?
Don't worry, we could annex Canada if we just send an army of Mexicans. Trudeau will just be like, you know what, we're America now.
We don't need to.
We don't even need something different in certain circles.
We just need a leaf. We need a leaf blower.
We don't need to annex Canada. We just need to stop pretending that they aren't a part of the United States.
Would you all enjoy another 30 million, 34 million people that would vote Democrat?
No. Like, although to be able to have moose in the country, like, that would be something.
You have moose in the country.
Yeah,
there's moose. Huh? I mean, we have Alaska,
Yeah,
that's true.
They're in
moose
like
range as far down as fucking like
California.
Yeah, they're in Washington, California, Oregon.
Wyoming has a lot of them.
What is Wyoming the place that makes cheese?
No, that's Wisconsin.
Wyoming makes like extremist compounds and it's
one of the most desolate states.
It's the least populated state.
I know a guy.
Matthew Shepard was from.
Yeah, that's where it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It happened.
But yeah, Wisconsin is where the cheese come from, and as I like to call it, it should just be Canada. It's cold.
I know a guy from Wyoming that he's a woodworker. Right, I'm a metal worker. This guy's a woodworker, and he makes some amazing fucking furniture. It is so cool to see this stuff. It's like, did you ever, what burl is? Like burled wood?
Yeah. I used to sell furniture. That's that is some of the most expensive and difficult to find.
Oh my God. His stuff is so incredible to look at. Like, it's something like you could seriously just sit there and look at one of his tables, his coffee tables, you could just stare at that thing for hours. It's amazing.
I have been known to stare at coffee tables for hours.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's like all different colors mixed in, and they're all like swirling around and stuff, and it's really cool.
I feel like there's context missing there that Anubis isn't going to pick up.
No.
The
context is that Kat is a designer.
Yeah, I actually used to be obsessed. Well, I still am to an extent, but yeah, I actually wanted to make my own furniture. Like I had drawings, and I was going to open up my own store, and then I discovered, oh wait, there's absolutely no way to make a living doing this. So I didn't know enough. I didn't know enough rich people.
Well, there is.
What?
If you like just on Etsy, like I see a lot of people on Etsy, and that's literally all they do for a job. Who the fuck is clipping their toenails?
I don't know.
Why does that always happen? That happens.
Of all.
Sorry, that's me. I'm messing with a pair of scissors.
But anyway, on Etsy, I know quite a few people. A lot of them are knife makers, right? Like they make knives, hunting knives, or just whatever. Most of them are fixed blade knives, and that's literally all they do for a job. And they sell stuff on eBay and Etsy and whatever, and they'll pump out like 100 knives a year, and make enough money to live, and they'll sell their knives for like $500, $700, $1,000 each.
Huh. Well, we have a friend. Cool. We have a friend that kind of is like that. But that's not all she does. The first female to ever be on the Gaytriarchy, Sister Danger.
I miss her. She's fun.
Yeah, I mean, she can come back on sometime. She's very busy though. She's like She describes her job occupation as professional fairy. So she has a business that is her fairy business, and it's composed of Renaissance fairs. She organizes one every year, and then she is a part of organizing other ones, like multiple other ones, but she's not like the leader.
Oh, that's wicked, yeah.
And then
that's fucking one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
And then, I did.
Well, I'm not done. I'm not done telling the things that she does. So
sorry.
She does the Renaissance fair thing during the spring summer, and then she also does little girls' birthday parties where she dresses up as a fairy and she gives them all fairy names and gives them little plays like. She actually did this in the store because she lives local to me, and so we hang out in person sometimes, and it was actually really cute. These little girls we were at Whole Foods, and we were at the salad bar section, and so they have all these tags where it says what type of food it is in each trough. It's like this huge salad bar with hot food, cold food, and I guess the little girls had somehow dropped a bunch of the tags on the floor. And they were trying to kind of pick them up, but they looked worried that they were going to get in trouble or something. And of course, I totally ignored them. But Sister Danger, she totally saw them being distressed little girls. So she was like, "Hey, Dee," and she was dressed up as a fairy too because she had been at this street fair. And so she picks up, or she makes a game out of picking them up and putting them together. And getting them in, so that they all kind of match up because they have holes in them and they have to be facing the right way. And then once they were done, she literally had a little pouch with fairy treasures that were like little gems to give to these little girls, and they were like, "Oh my god!" And so she does birthdays where she does that kind of crap, which I have no concept of how you'd even interact with kids in that way at all, but it was interesting to witness. And then she also sits around making weird girly fairy crap that apparently she sells on Etsy. And I've talked to her multiple times in Skype calls, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just working on some crafts, but I can hear you, blah 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 blah," and it's I don't know how much money she actually gets from it, but she's always doing it. So
my this girl that I met, we were kind of internet dating. Basically, we just sent nudes to each other. But she makes, I guess she has a lot of barber friends or whatever. So she gets hair.
That sounds like a very hairy situation.
She gets like hair and whatever, and makes wigs. Like she weaves hair into these. I guess when you have a wig, there's like a blank, and it's basically like a grid pattern that actually attaches to your head, and the hair is weaved in that grid pattern fabric. So it's real human hair wigs, and sells one wig for like $2 grand.
Oh my god!
Wait, so are you telling me that she's actually a professional wigger?
Yeah, but like I couldn't believe it, and she was like, this was a while ago, right? Like I met her when I was probably like 23, and she was like 18. So, and she was making bank, right? Making these fucking wigs and selling them, and she started off doing it just for fun. Now it's like 3 or 4 of them a week, just like selling 3 or 4 of those fucking things a week for
Damn.
Yeah.
She's a strong fish bicycle woman that don't need no man.
Yeah,
just a bunch of scalps.
Yeah, she needs a bunch of hair. That's about it.
Yeah, I have a friend that's a drag queen.
She started doing it because she had this like anxiety problem where she would like pull her hair out, so she would wear wigs all the time.
Oh.
And she started making them for herself, and the people were like, "Oh my god, that's so cute!" and da da da. Where'd you get it? And she's like, "I made it. What can you make me one?" And that's how it started.
Huh? When God closes a door, He always opens a window.
Yeah, or a freaking suction out to space porthole.
Yeah. So I had this drag queen friend who was a waiter at this like wine bar and got a fair amount of money doing that in San Francisco, and then would get paid a decent amount for drag, but like ultimately that's not a sustainable lifestyle. It doesn't really go anywhere long term. I mean, when you're young and you can dance particularly well, which this person can, like dance extremely well, is classically trained. It's good, but like when you get to be, over 40 and you can't dance so well, it's harder and harder, and you have to keep buying these new outfits, and the entire city's like kind of seen you perform a million times. You're not going to get the same gigs, and the cost of buying the new outfits outweighs the amount that you're getting paid. So they were wanting to get into wig making as their actual long-term career path, and now I have more hope that that's actually a good thing for them.
Yeah, she sells those things for some serious money.
Huh.
And it's just, I mean, she gets the fabric or whatever it is, the grid pattern that you weave the hair into, and then like tie it off or whatever onto the grid pattern. That shit is cheap as hell. It's I forget what she told me. It was under $100. I remember that. And that's all you need. Just a friend who's a barber and that grid shit.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of these craft-based occupations, though, is it's incredibly cool, and it is, it can be very satisfying, and you can make a lot of money, but there is a hell of a lot of luck involved. Because I'd say probably for every person who has a booming Etsy store or a successful wig business, there's a bunch of girls selling turquoise off the road in New Mexico who also happen to have a GoFundMe so that they can pay their rent that month. Like,
so I live, anyway, next to a big city, and there are so many bums, right? Like people just panhandling for money. So, wherever there's a stoplight or whatever at a busy intersection, there'll be like a guy walking in between cars and shit with a sign or, anything. So they make a lot of these people. There was Vice did a big thing about it back in like 2012-ish. These people make a lot of money out there panhandling. Like there were quite a few people that would make over $500 a day out there panhandling.
That's gross.
Yeah, and they live in like nice apartments and shit like that, and they would just go out on the street and panhandle.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of rumors about that. I've always I actually had a video that was I think it's like literally my shortest video ever. It's what do you say if you run into a panhandler and you live in a city like Seattle or San Francisco or something, and it's like a white young kid? You know, this probably does not need to be homeless at all if they're homeless.
You do the Chinese thing and say, "I know speak English," and keep walking.
Like today, for instance.
Well, no,
like
I have my answer, and then you can give yours. You say to them, you say, "Do you support Antifa?" And which they will very likely say yes if they're like a little white, Trustafarian kid. Then you say, "Well, then why don't you talk to your local organizer? She gets paid full time. I'm sure she can give you a little bit of something for being one of her foot soldiers."
Yeah. Yeah. Too many.
No.
Like today, I had to drive pretty far to go pick something up for a job I'm doing, and I was going into a slummy-ish part of the city, and there was this guy. He was an obvious bum, right? Like a smelly one, not one of the, he wasn't doing it to make, he wasn't doing it to make money. He was an actual homeless dude. I felt bad for him. He had like a fanny pack on. It was a larger fanny pack, and in the fanny pack was a fucking kitten.
Oh.
And it was I was like, he walked past me. I was on the phone, and I didn't realize it until I looked. He was right directly across from my window, and I looked over and it's like, holy shit, there's a kitten in that guy's friggin' fanny pack. I had to call him. I had to hang out the window and yell at him like, yo, dude, come here a minute.
Yeah,
First time I've ever seen a guy. I seen a bum with a parrot once, like a bird parrot.
The only homeless people.
I've once seen a bum in nothing but a sock.
That probably was not a good image.
Was it on his dick?
Yes.
The only homeless people I will typically give money to are those with animals, just because I suppose I could be deceived, but generally speaking, I don't know. I kind of go on intuition.
That's a crazy world that we've created, right? Where people they care more about their dogs or their household pets or whatever than they do about other humans, and it's a lot of people I notice.
It's not. I know what you're saying, and it's not that I don't care.
I'm not saying it's you. I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah,
the fucking dog barber or the dog cafe or whatever. It's like we as a society have come that far, and there's that much excess that Paris Hilton.
I think another way to look at it is. Oh, sorry. I thought you stopped.
No, my internet is shitty.
Oh.
And you're not the one in Canada?
Well, I'm on Wi-Fi and I'm kind of far away from the source.
Yeah, but isn't Canada notoriously have shit internet?
Well, I'm not Canadian.
Depends on where you live, really. Yeah. You have to be within a certain limit.
I think it was Victor saying about Swedish internet. I don't think that was.
Oh, yeah. That's something else that's crazy. Like a friend of mine lives over there, right? Mm-hmm. And he says that it's government mandated. Now, I don't know if this is true. I didn't check, but it's government mandated that no matter where you are, like he lives out in the boon, I guess, above the Arctic Circle, right? And he has a solid gigabyte down.
That is crazy.
In the boonies too. And he says that it's government. Yeah, ask him. You know who I'm talking about. Ask him.
Yeah, his internet's that fast?
I guess so.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so it's government mandated that you can't have speeds less than 300 megabytes, I think it was, anywhere in the country.
I wish we had those mandates here.
Yeah, I know. That would be nice.
That's amazing. That's unbelievable.
To come back to what you were saying, though, about animals, though, I think there are people who legitimately care more about animals than people, but at least for me, and I've talked to other people like this, I think what a lot of it is when you see people with animals, it isn't so much that you don't care about them, it's that you generally we trust animals more than we trust people, because it's much harder for animals to fool us, and they don't really have nearly as many advocates in real life. I mean, yes, everyone talks about, oh, what do you think of the animals? But if we get down to the actual amount of resources that we as a society have set aside to help animals in situations even where they're being like horribly abused by any objective standard, compared to even like the lowliest homeless person. It's just not even close. Like I think you're either a people person or you're an animal person. And when you're an animal person, you know that you're doing that because you have to make up for your 1 out of every 10 or something like that. Because a lot of people say they love animals, but they don't actually, it's just words. They don't actually put anything into it. Like I for instance, anyone who's watched my channel will know I have a lot of animals. I have 8 cats. Not because I specifically wanted to have 8 cats, but because I'm just a giant softie. And they're all shelter cats, and it's very hard for me to look into those faces and not want to take care of them.
Yeah,
I have
cats too many.
I have a cat named Kit Kat, and
Aww.
he wandered into, like, I leave my shop windows open in the summer, because I work and it gets really hot and whatever. So he randomly one day, he was a kitten. He was probably like 3 or 4 weeks old max. He just climbs in the window and lays down on a bunch of shit, like rags that I had piled up. And I look over, like I'm doing stuff with a grinder, right? Like making a lot of noise, there's sparks everywhere and shit. And I look over and he's just fucking laying on a bunch of rags, and he never left.
Yeah, they do that. I think what a lot of people don't understand about cats specifically, the difference between a cat and a dog is that a dog wants a master. A dog will come up to you and ask for, like, won't you help me? And the cat will come up and is like, okay, I pick you now. You're mine. This is mine.
Yeah, like I don't know what on earth attracted him into my window. Like, there's no food in here, right? There's like the smells coming from this place I could just imagine, and like it's loud. I just cannot. I'd never figured out why he wandered in here.
Trying to understand the motives of a cat can be
yeah. It's like
I am the fucking cat whisperer. I can explain to you any cat and how they're thinking and what is going through its heads.
Well, please tell me about Kit Kat, because
I will have to meet it. I will have to. It's a telepathic thing. It's not. You can't just describe the behavior. You have to witness.
Well,
it.
you send me your address and I'll FedEx him to you.
Fucking keep him.
I was a very, very ignored kid. I didn't have any brothers. My sisters were cunts, and they're older than me anyway. And I was an accident. And my parents got divorced twice by the time I was 5. And so it's not like they were spending time with me. And at my mom's house, which was a fairly big house, which she wouldn't let me have cable television or video games. So I was basically just supposed to be like sat there entertaining myself with nothing. Now, granted, it was a pretty nice house, and like looking back on it, it was like kind of sweet for like as bored as I was.
I bet you
what?
I bet you beat it a lot during that time.
No, but I was a little kid. I didn't masturbate until I was about 12, 13. So but we did have 5 cats. Like, and so I got very familiar with playing with cats and like chasing them around, and like, some of them were kind of scared of me, some of them weren't. Like, we had this cat named Pirate, and fucking Pirate was not scared of anybody. He was just like, pet me, oh, not too much, I'm gonna bite you now, like that's like that type of cat he was.
What color was he?
He was black and white, and he had an eye patch, which is why we called him Pirate. So I got very used to like learning the difference of patterns of behavior between male and female cats, and that kind of a thing. And then I've had a lot of different cats since in my life, and it's it's something that it is very, very hard to explain, but I'm pretty good at it.
Sleepy Doodle has topped the Kit Kat story because he had a baby lamb when he was young named Kit Kat.
A lamb named Kit Kat?
Yeah, and I bet that lamb was tasty afterwards.
I I think the real joke in this story is that you were once good with pussy.
No, it's a really funny thing too. Like, okay, so like guy cats are very aggressive in wanting attention and wanting everybody to like them generally, unless they're like total assholes and they just like kick your ass. And
oh no, Kit Kat is a dickhead. He's still got his balls. He's an
that's
asshole.
Why. Dude, he's an outside cat, right?
Well, he comes like he does whatever he wants, you know. Like I leave the door open, the window open, or whatever, and he just comes and goes whenever. But the only time he'll, and like cats do, is when he wants food. That's literally it. The rest of the time he's fucking laying around or getting in my way.
Yeah. That's very guy cat behavior. Girl cats are weird.
Well, explain this one though, right? Because this has been like crazy, driving me nuts. This fucking cat, like, I don't know if he's got a mental problem or what, but like, I'm sure that, you know, like you've seen a grinder, like how it shoots sparks out and shit, right? Like an angle grinder, you know, you like sit on a piece of metal. That cat, I swear to God, he'll just fucking be laying there and the sparks will be hitting the shit out of him, right? Just blasting him with sparks. And he don't give a shit. He'll just fucking stand there and take it.
Is it warm?
I try to angle. Oh yeah,
extremely.
Yeah.
Wait. Is it cold out when it's happening?
No, he just doesn't give a shit, man. It could be for dinner, doesn't matter. Like I try to aim away from him, but he'll like sometimes, you know. I mean, cats they freak out, like a noise happens and they jump up and run away. This guy, like I sometimes the sparks will hit him a little, like if I angle a weird way, and he'll just.
Well, you know what? Probably how big is he?
Right, like size wise, or
is he a big cat or medium cat, small cat?
I mean, he's long. He's like long cat long.
Yeah, because the thing is,
he's probably about like 2.5 feet long.
What color is he?
Because so the thing is that there what's very likely going on is that there is another male cat in the neighborhood that is feral. That's tougher than him, and so he decided that he needed to have a place to hang out and chill, and you're his like safe space.
Oh my God, let me tell you this fucking story then.
But grinders, that's literally fucking
it's like
glass. Like that's not just like
it's not really that. Like
if you grind into a window, you'll fucking destroy the window.
I mean, if you sit there freaking hand.
If you're
it might break it.
You know what I mean, though. But like you'll burn your pants.
Let me tell you this story, right? He obviously goes out and does whatever he wants, right? And comes here for food and whatever. He's basically a feral cat that just sleeps here and eats here, right? I feed him. Yeah. So he comes back to the shop one day and he's got this fucking huge hole in his neck.
Oh.
And I'm like, what the hell happened to you? And I'm looking at it and I'm getting my stuff out because I'm like a woodsy guy. Like I like to go out hiking and I have a pretty good medical kit and all that. So I start getting all my stuff out to clean him up and fix him up and stuff. And I noticed that the hole goes into his neck and into his fucking ear canal. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God.
And I was like, Kit Kat, what the hell? Like something must have grabbed him by the head. You know, like
maybe
probably a dog.
Yeah, probably a dog.
It had to have been a dog. It had to have been the dog behind me here, like a little ways. But like I'm still clean. This was a long time ago. This was like getting close to a year ago now. This happened. Like pussy shit out of his ear. It took me like a solid fucking like 4 days to clean him up good enough to where I felt like he wasn't gonna get he wasn't gonna lose his ear or anything. But a hole right through his neck into his ear.
I'll tell you, my experience with cats, I didn't have them growing up because I'm actually one of the only members of my family who isn't allergic to them, but I do have them now. And I have learned that cats that are indoor-outdoor versus indoor cats, with certain exceptions, are always going to be more aggressive because when you have the cat going outside, even if, I don't care if it's in the country, in the city, or what, it's a dangerous world out there for creatures of that size. There are dogs, there are other cats, there are cars, so they're tougher. My cats are all indoor exclusively because I live in a suburban neighborhood where people drive around really fast. I don't want to. I couldn't bear to have one of them run over. And to be perfectly honest, like I feel like people do things to cats that they don't do to dogs. But
yeah, right,
mm-hmm.
right. Like like there's some people that just they like to torture.
Well, it's like you wouldn't think it was weird if someone said like I hate cats. That's not an unusual statement. If you heard someone say I hate dogs, you'd think that person was a serial killer. Like
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I know what you mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no hyperbole on the Gaytriarchy. Everything we say is subtle and nuanced. But I mean, like, it's just the thing. There are things that people consider acceptable to do to cats. Like when my dad was growing up, he said it wasn't uncommon for boys to think it was hilarious to tie a cherry bomb to a cat's tail.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
Like
but you would never do that to a dog.
The worst thing I ever did when I was a kid was put a piece of like duct tape on a cat and watch it fucking spin around trying to get the tape off.
Yeah, that's not.
The worst thing I did is like snip off like about an inch of some of my sister's cat's whiskers, and she totally noticed and was pissed.
Like, whiskers are actually super important for cats. Yeah. That's how they know how they can fit through something.
Yeah. But they do,
but they grow back. How big they are, if their whiskers fit, they can. So if you snip off their whiskers, they'll
get stuck in something.
They do grow back hella fast. Though.
I know. I'm being legit when I say that that's the worst thing I ever did.
Yeah,
like Kit Kat, for instance, to go like he. So when he got that hole, like I didn't want him to go back out, right? Because I didn't want him to like I wanted him to heal, right? So I tried to keep him in here as much as possible. But there's this little vent area that I have there's fans in it where I could turn the fans on and ventilate the shop. And the hole in there it's probably about maybe 2.5 inches in diameter. He fucking fit out through that hole. I couldn't believe it. He just wants to go outside. He went through that little asshole.
Yeah, cats it's some weird instinct thing with them. Like, and in particular, more feral cats are interested in the outdoors and certain types of outdoors. Like, we had this one cat that was a barn cat. Like my friend was visiting some barn and they had kittens and they were like, "Oh, please take one." And she's like, okay. So she got this cat and it ended up, oh my God, this cat was so fucking irritating. It was really, really smart and really really attached to company. Like she would just wreck our house if we were gone for too long, just like knocking everything over. And it's just irritating. Like if I was making music on my computer, anytime I was on my computer, she was always just like crawling all over me and trying, like that kind of cat. And that fucking cat, we didn't want to let her outside because she was very smart and kind of crazy, and we didn't know what kind of trouble she would get into, and we lived in a neighborhood where it just didn't seem like a good idea. But we did we trained her to ride on our shoulder like a falcon with a leash. And because yeah, it was pretty sweet. We would take her out to like art galleries sometimes with this little cat riding around on our shoulder. And of course we'd have to like take turns because we get all fucking tired. And the thing is that she was spoiled. She wouldn't walk on the ground. No. If we ever put her on the ground, she'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so small. I'm gonna get stepped on." Ah! And just kind of squat really low and like not want to move. So. But if we put her on our shoulders, she was fine. She's like, "Oh, cool! I'm taller than everybody. This is awesome." And the thing about her, how did I start saying? Oh yeah. We took her to the beach one time, and this was so strange. There's those landscaping rocks that they use to create kind of like artificial, like maybe sometimes they put them on canals. And those
they're called paver stones. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be like about 2 feet tall and like 3 feet wide, and they're like really, really jagged, and they have a lot of space in between them. Well, they had a whole bunch of those at this beach, and we kind of let her like crawl around on them, but on the leash, like just because we thought that it would be sort of fun for her. And for whatever fucking reason, she was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And she was having so much fun running around on them. She was like, ooh, I'm Spider-Man. This is awesome. This is cool. And then we were like, okay, time to go. And she's like, no, I want to live here. No. And it was like this weird thing where she was like, for whatever reason, that those rocks triggered some sort of instinct of like where she felt that she should be in the world. And it was strange.
Cats are naturally inclined to like being able to get up high, and because the cats have much more instinct than people realize. They do not like to be down low because it's a very vulnerable position for cats. I often tell people, like, if you want to understand what it's like to be a cat or a small dog, like, watch Attack on Titan, because that's kind of, I imagine, that's how they see it.
That makes sense.
Because like we're just these big, stupid, hairy apes that run around. Like they can't communicate with us, and they're afraid we're going to step on them.
Yeah, birds are very much the same way. Like when I was younger, we had a cockatoo. I swear to God that the thing, even if you were sitting on a couch or a chair or something, it would literally climb onto like a lamp behind you just to be higher than you, or higher than me. And
I had the best cat. This is a funny little cat anecdote. When I moved down to Oakland, when I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, I first lived in Oakland, in this like the craziest house that you can imagine. Like, so in Oakland, there's all of these like weird loft places where, like there'll be like 6 to 12 different people living in them, and there'll be like warehouses that don't have fire permits that. So I kind of lived in one of these places, and I lived in probably the craziest one of all. And it had been around since the 1800s. It used to be a brothel, and it had a saloon in it that Jack London used to hang out there and shit. And you could tell that it's like, it sounds like I'm just sort of saying that, but if you went to it, you'd be like, oh, this is legit. This has been around since the 1800s. Like, this is some weird shit. And I could go on and on about stories about that place, but it had like fucking, I don't know how many cats living there, like 15 or something running around, because it was a whole complex. Like, it wasn't just like one building. It was like, I don't know how many different buildings, like over 10. And it was very, very strange. And so most of the cats, we knew who they were, like which roommates they belonged to or something. But then there was like the sort of like random cats that the landlord would just kind of feed, and they would just run around. And there was this one that was gray and white, and you'd only see it occasionally. And every time you'd walk into the same room or the same little courtyard area as this one, and it would look at you, and it would be like, and then like turn around and run away. And so I started, I asked my friend, the girl that I was good friends with, the girl who, got me the room at the place. I was like, hey, what is with that gray and white? Have you ever seen that gray and white fluffy cat? Like, do you know what the deal is? Like, where it comes? And she's like, I don't know, dude. That is some skittish ass cat. Like, you only see it for about 3 seconds and I was like, thank you. And then I asked all the other roommates, and they're like, yeah, no, that cat is terrified of all people. So we started calling it Anne Frank.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, that is the best. Oh, God, that is the best, sad, funny story I've ever heard. Oh, my God. I can't believe that, Grants, how long have you and I known each other on YouTube now?
It'll be a year, probably in like January. So probably about 9 months.
And you've known that I was a crazy cat lady the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And somehow this is the first time that we've ever actually had like a crazy cat lady stream.
Yeah, gone into details about.
And remarkably, we did not lose the entire audience.
The funny thing about that house, what was really, really interesting about it is that So it was a brothel saloon. So like you'd go to this saloon and there'd be girls hanging out there, and you could pay for them, and they bring you up to their room, and that was like the deal, right? And it was said, and this was like I'm not making this shit up. I interviewed the landlord. Is like, so just so you know, this place is haunted by the brothel girls, and if they don't like you, they'll drive you crazy. They will haunt you and they'll make you go crazy. But you're gonna be fine. I can tell. I get a good vibe from you. The girls will like you. Don't you worry about that. And I'm like, yeah, I bet they'll probably like me. Okay. Like whatever. And so I didn't fucking see any girls. I never saw nothing. I was fine. I mean, it was a really weird place, but I was fine. However, 3 people ended up moving in with us. This girl, my friend invited this girl to live. She brought her boyfriend, and then her boyfriend had an extra friend that he brought up with. Well, that guy had issues, and he ended up getting fucking haunted or something, and he went fucking crazy. He stayed awake for an entire week straight and was like fucking freaking. I was literally the only person he didn't freak out on. Like everyone else, he like got paranoid and thought that they were out to get him, and at one point was like screaming at us in a room, and I like grabbed a wine bottle and put it behind my back in case I had to like hit him with it. And
Jesus.
yeah, it was a really, but I was he was okay with me. Like I talk crazy pretty well, I guess, for some strange reason. And so yeah, that was the weirdest thing about that fucking place.
Now, are you sure it wasn't just plain old substance abuse? Yeah. They're saying in the chat it's called meth.
No, you know what the thing is that he was doing some drugs, but he wasn't doing meth. He was doing what's it called? Robitussin shit.
Robitussin?
Yeah, he kept drinking Robitussin, but that's not like a hardcore stimulant. Like you're not gonna like stay up forever just from doing that.
Well, okay, here, putting nurse hat on.
Okay.
Actually, excessive amounts of decongestants, especially the kind they use in Robitussin, it's true, they don't generally keep you awake. However, large amounts of them can severely disrupt the REM cycle. And without REM sleep, even if you are resting, you're not actually getting full rest. So if you if you sleep but you never enter the REM cycle, you will still kind of go crazy because your brain is not recharging.
So he might have been doing that for a while, but he was definitely awake for several days. He ended up okay. So what eventually happened to him is that he was awake. Like he got more and more crazy. He was close with the landlord. Like they got along well for a while, and I think he was doing like construction work on the building with the landlord or the buildings. There's like many different buildings, and so the landlord was like, no, he's cool, and like trying to like stick up for him. And we're like, I don't know, dude, he's going insane. We have to live with him. Because the landlord lived in a separate building, but he was actually in our building. And at some point, he like climbed up into a tree and jumped down for some reason and like massively sprained his ankle, but he didn't have health insurance, so he didn't like know where to go. And so he's like limping around everywhere and like all crazy and then it got to the point where the landlord was like scared of him and he was like, oh, what do we do? And like and then finally like he threatened one too many people and I never saw the sharpened. Okay, supposedly this is what the dude who actually brought him to our house said. He said that he sharpened his fingernails into points and chased him away like fucking Wolverine or Lady Deathstroke or some shit. And that's how. And then we don't know what happened to him.
Did he injure himself before he started going crazy, or around the same time?
Oh, he had been crazy for a few days.
Because I remember when my husband had his hip fracture. the pain was so severe that he wasn't able to sleep for several days, and he did go cuckoo for a little while, because if you can't sleep, then you start hallucinating badly.
That might have. Oh God, it's hard. It's hard to really know because it's like.
And who knows what he was doing when he wasn't around you?
Yeah. That's the bigger issue. But I remember at one point he like was telling me that he's telepathic with his computer.
Well, to be fair, Robitussin is also methamphetamine, isn't it? It's like fucking methylphenone or something like that.
The active chemical is DXM.
Okay, so I'm gonna look this up now on my little nursing sites.
You can sometimes actually get it as a pill at like raves and shit. I never had it though.
Robitussin sleep disorder.
Also,
you should go on Erowid.com and look up DXM effects. Here, I'll do that.
Also, I just want to let you guys know we are hitting the 2-hour mark on the show.
Okay.
Does that mean we get cookies or something?
We usually go for about 3 hours, and so he's probably telling us that he's getting kind of drunk and tired, and so he's just reminding us that it doesn't need to go on forever.
Which we've been known to do.
I would give you cookies, but I'm not
Great
your
times.
grandmother. I am whatever the hell I am.
Could they be perhaps less than legal in some parts of the United States? Cookies?
I can make those, but no, those would just be. I would just make them out of a box, get
Oh, man.
lines and shit.
How about fucking everybody in the liberal media going mad on Elon Musk for smoking a little bit of weed?
Oh my god, why on earth is that an issue? I really, I mean, well, actually, I do know why. It's just because Elon Musk, everyone liked him.
He's not on their side, right? He's not on their side.
Oh yeah, he's attacking the mainstream media. Yeah.
They liked him when he was, the eccentric tech guy who was giving them electric cars, because electric cars is the pet. It is like the sacred cow of almost all environmental leftism. And I will say this, Teslas are beautiful cars, and I'm not saying that I would remove some of my organs to get one. Okay, maybe I would, but yeah, they're just upset because he crossed them, and so now they're just picking at whatever they can. I mean, like this, and they're not above just choosing something.
Oh my god, he took a hit of a blunt. Oh my god, and then he looked at it. He looked at it like it was good weed. Oh my god, the Air Force is going to disown him.
Won't somebody think of the children?
I think it's more of won't somebody think of the women?
It's like Elon Musk, fucking kids in Africa could have ate that joint, but yeah, you smoked it. Ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
You got the Jamaican ambassador saying, "Yeah, man, don't appropriate my culture." I can't do it.
Fucking A.
Don't ask me to do it.
Man, don't you appropriate my culture, man.
That
went all Mario at the end, but whatever.
Well, it was still better than mine. There are things I can do. Jamaican accents is not one of them.
Jamaican me crazy, man.
Sorry, Jamaica.
Jamaica?
Yes.
Great. Now you've just spawned a new name for the hood.
The hood, Jamaica. Oh my god.
Now that's some fucking lowbrow racism. I like it.
Hey, I'm part Mexican. I get a discount.
5 finger or just 4?
I like.
Either way, either way, it works out to be about a 25 to 30% discount.
I like the Kanye West version of that. Free 99.
Free nuts.
I always like as soon as I heard that, I fell in love with it.
Oh, I get it now.
Completely. Go ahead.
I used to shoplift a little bit in San Francisco, but I stopped. I used to go into the same Walgreens and I would steal vitamins, supplement stuff, and because they're fucking expensive, like some of this shit. They
don't do anything for you, right?
Well, it depends on what.
They just really don't. It's pretty much all smoke and mirrors, the vitamin supplement industry.
Well, no,
well, you piss out.
No. It depends on what you're taking. Because fucking.
Well, of course it does. But
melatonin will do something.
That's not a vitamin.
Okay, well
Certain-
then I'm not talking about vitamins. I'm talking about supplements. It's a chemical.
certain milligram.
Over the counter
Even
chemicals. So I would get those type of things, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I would, but they'll cost like $30 or so. You know, it's like
did they make you poop yourself?
Okay,
No,
I'm gonna continue with my story. I would go in there and they have the magnetic strip thing on the bottom of the pills so that people don't steal them, like, you know, so that it rings when you go outside. I would walk right in there, and this is like a busy intersection, you know, pharmacy place, like lots of crazy crackheady people in and out. So, you know, it's hard to keep track of all the people in there. And I was a regular customer that did buy stuff, but so sometimes I would walk in, grab the bottle, walk right out. While I was walking, peel the little thing off, stick it onto the side of a pole to get rid of it, like just like one of the support poles, you know, that would support the building, and then walk the hell out. And I did that, you know, a number of times until they started having this fucking security guard who is this Samoan dude who is seriously like probably over 400 pounds, and I saw him tackle some dude one time, and it was terrifying. Like, okay, like I saw the guy, he was like going around with a backpack, like putting like cans of food in it and shit, like all crazy, and the Samoan guy was like eyeing him like through the aisles, like, you know, like and I was like, huh? And I was like, oh, I got to watch this. And so I was like watching, and the guy tries to get out. And what amazed me was how quick the Samoan guy was on his feet when he decided to make his move. Like he just darted across the floor about 10, 15 feet and just tackled the guy. And then the guy's head like kind of like hit the wall and shit. And the guy like screams in pain. And I was like, I am never shoplifting here again. So, yeah.
You were scared straight, or no? You were scared gay. I don't.
Yeah.
All I know is that when I was a kid, my grandfather actually used me as a decoy for shoplifting. I'm not even kidding you. He would like I was the cover for him stealing batteries a few times. He stole some produce from a grocery store. Hell, I even one time saw him down like 3 donuts in the grocery store and did not pay for them.
Oh, well, like, okay, so you're walking around the store, right? And, you know, you're walking around, you get some shit, and you're shopping, and you see the donuts in the case, right? Yeah. And you put a couple of them in the bag, and then you eat one, right? And you get to the register, and you just forget about it. Is that stealing?
Yes.
Okay, so what if it's a self checkout, right? And you're forced to check yourself out. Shouldn't you like charge the store? Like you're already fucking giving them an exorbitant amount of fucking money for food. Then they force you to check yourself out. Can you consider that donut like a down payment on a cash register?
You can consider anything you want, but the security agent will probably not agree with your assessment.
So true.
Yeah. I it's funny. I think I must be the only one here. I when I was about 6 or 7, I remember I stole some bubble gum from Kmart because my mom would never give it to us. Well, my mom, when we were in the parking lot, noticed that my sister and I had this bubble gum, and she knew she didn't buy it for us. So she was really upset. So what she did is she made me go back into the store and return the bubble gum to the clerks. And after that, I never ever did anything like that again.
That must have been fun.
It was a bit traumatic, but yeah, I had a very religious upbringing, so that wasn't the end of it. So after being forced to return the bubble gum, then we went home, and then my mom spent the next hour reading various biblical passages about theft and how bad it was, and why I was making Jesus cry, and so. Yeah, so I myself have never had a strong desire to shoplift since then.
So you've made Jesus cry your entire life.
Right. Then. Making Jesus cry. That's
Well, so
That's one I've yet to hear that one.
Mm-hmm.
According to the religious people, so does my masturbation, the gay, the fact that, well, the kind of gay, the alcoholism, the fact that I've gambled. I'm going to hell like 10 times over before we even get in anything fun.
I've heard the whole like the angel loses its wings thing, but never the Jesus crying.
You haven't spent enough time around religious people then. They're very obsessed with the various fluids coming out of Jesus.
It's true. Very true. And the Jesus crying is a pretty common one too.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, you're making Jesus cry, you're making him angry, like you know,
fuck that. Fuck Jesus. Fuck him. Fuck Jesus and his fucking bread and his wine.
We had a
Literally or figuratively?
Both.
We
Stick it
had
in
a
his fucking
running-
ass.
We had a running joke that was actually quite funny. That was a spin-off of the Jesus cry thing. This was funnier, last decade. If anybody did anything that was bad for the environment, like they were wasting water or, littering or anything, be like, don't do that. It makes Al Gore cry.
Oh, jeez.
No,
Yeah,
I got woke as shit to the whole religious thing. I was literally a child. Like, first communion, I was baptized Lutheran, so I went to a Catholic school. And for first communion, they told me I was a filthy heretic, so I wasn't allowed to participate.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Like first communion's like what, grade 1, so I was like 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell it to a fucking 7-year-old.
Well, I'm confused. So why did your family? Did they just not understand the concept of different denominations? Because why would you send a Lutheran to a Catholic church? I mean, did they not?
Well, it was
all
a Catholic school.
Okay.
My grandmother demanded that I was baptized. My mother's not a very religious person at all.
Okay, but why Catholic?
Because we lived beside the school.
Okay, because the whole the
How lazy.
Well,
That's very Catholic of you.
Well, I'm stuttering over myself because I can't quite process this. Like the whole point of Lutheranism, the original Protestant,
the original heretics.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, why out of all the places you could send your Lutheran child, would you send them to be baptized in a Catholic church?
No.
Oh my God.
I was baptized as a baby.
That's why you did it.
I was baptized as like an actual baby, right? Like fucking 7 days or 7 weeks, or whatever the fuck it was after birth. And in grade 1, I was going to a Catholic school because we lived beside the school.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the easiest way to do it. My mom had like 3 jobs, so she didn't have fucking time to help me get to school or back or whatever. So it was just that simple. And when it got to first communion, the entire class was doing it. It was a full field trip, whatever else, and fucking we're called a filthy heretic.
That's a good solution for a lot of parents. Just like you're working, right? Especially if you're a single parent, you got to find something to do. Why not just stick your kid in fucking CCD or whatever for hours and hours every day after school?
Yeah.
Well, but the funny thing was, it wasn't a choice that I had ever made. I had no influence over it, and because of that,
isn't that most of childhood?
Well, yeah,
like,
exactly, right.
But like, you to do shit.
Yeah, and having that sort of thing happened to me at such a young age. It was just like, this is just complete bullshit. Like, there's no point in ever listening to anybody about any of this stuff again if that's how they're going to treat a child who's literally never made a choice for themselves in their life. I
remember when I was in that after school Christ lecture whatever thing for church, like it was every other day or whatever for like 3 hours after school.
Oh God.
It was terrible. I used to draw like fucking pentagrams and shit on all the Jesus paperwork. So I was young as fuck too. Like I was fucking young, man.
How did you even know what a pentagram was at that age?
There has to be like a weird psychological term for when kids do shit, not like like when you do crap deliberately with the explicit purpose of trying to freak adults out.
Yeah, it's called being a kid.
Yeah, but it's like oh yeah.
trolling.
Yeah, troll. Yeah, it's like some sort of, but like there has to be an actual psychological term.
Yeah, we're the
Acting
shit
out.
posting. We're in the shit posting generation, man. Like,
Yeah.
Well, generally speaking, for children, I mean, I think I'm not a child. I don't do pediatrics, but in
You
school,
don't do children?
no, I'm a nurse. Yeah, no, never have. But no, I'm a nurse, so I did have to study some pediatrics in school. But I hate children. I didn't want to take care of them. No, I take care of old people because they either can't talk or when they do, it's not very often. But yeah, during that course, I do remember them talking about. There were some specific terms. You're right, but I think generally you would just call that acting out or attention-seeking behavior. Actually, my sister is a social worker who actually works in like child development and child welfare. She would actually, if you really want to know, she would be the one to ask about that.
No, that makes sense because like I was like that. I was when I was a kid and I did crap like that. It was definitely because nobody paid attention to me, and it was something that and what's funny is that like I noticed like a lot of the kids that play Overwatch are like that. Like it's like I had this one kid who he was one of the first people that I actually added as a friend, and I didn't add him on purpose. I played with this other guy who was really funny and kind of good. And I thought that the invitation was coming from the other guy, but it was actually this fucking kid. Like we call them squeakers. Is the because they have squeaky little voices. So the squeaker added me, and then
You mean the pre-pube?
yeah, that's what it is. And
the squeakers.
yeah, and he added me, and then he would like want to play with me, and sometimes join up. But he was fucking annoying, dude. Like he only like was half paying attention to the game, and it mostly seemed like he just wanted some sort of company. Like I don't know if he would have played with another kid or if he preferred the fact that I was an adult that was willing to be nice to him. But I eventually had to unfriend him, even though I felt really bad for his situation because like his parents obviously did not spend a lot of time with him, and I asked him and he was like, yeah, they work a lot, and I was like, okay, so I feel kind of bad for you, but
you irritate the shit out of me.
yeah, well he would join. Okay, so you can join up with your friends sometimes if they're not in a competitive match without being invited, and he would do that, and my friends were like, what the fuck is with this squeaker, because he was a squeaky squeaker, like he wouldn't shut up, And
it's so natural for you to like implement that word into a sentence. This is a squeaky squeaker.
Well, no, because we talked. Okay, so there was that kid, and like I feel bad. I'm sure that like there's complicated circumstances, and that he'll be a nice person someday. But
or a serial killer.
Yeah, but I have an 11-year-old that's a regular teammate of mine who is very polite and well behaved.
What the fuck? How can you even play with an 11-year-old?
I will tell you exactly how. Okay, so I have my regular group of friends on Overwatch that we played with regularly, and it was so fun. So I have no ability to be mean to kids. Like I think that it's because some combination of the fact that that adults were not very nice to me when I was a kid, and also when I was like an adolescent, probably between the ages of 12 and maybe 16 or so. I was maybe even older. I was not nice to kids. Like I would be mean to them. And then I realized that I regret that. I'm like, wait, I would have been really, really bummed out if some like teenager was mean to me and I was, 11. So I should not do that. And so now I don't have the ability to be mean to them. And what happened was I was the group leader. I was in charge of the group. Like I can kick people out. I can, choose to pick up new people, that kind of a thing. And we had 5 people, and Overwatch is a 6-person game. So we had we played with some random, like a random person that we didn't know, and it was him. And he didn't speak the entire time, and a lot of the people play the game but don't have mics. And he was in the chat. He could hear us, but we didn't hear him. And we won the game, and he was playing Tracer, and Tracer is a particularly hard character to play. Like she's one of the hardest 5 characters out of like 28. So he actually we won the game, and he was actually a really good tracer. And so when we were done, we were like, hey, good job on that tracer. And then he wanted to join up. Like you press a button that says that they wants to, it's a request to stay with group button. And there was 5 of us. We all had mics, and it was like, oh, yeah, maybe. You were really good. Do you have a mic? Do you have a mic? And they give you about 30 seconds or so to like make your decision if you want to like keep this person before you exit the screen. And so we were saying, do you have a mic? Do you have a mic? And then I say, well, okay, we only like to play with people who have mics, so sorry, but you were really good. No hard feelings. And then right at the like last 2 seconds, you hear a like unmuting, noise, and then he's like, I have a mic. Like in a little kid voice, and we were like, oh, and then it was over. Like we didn't have time to even like accept the request. So we all talking. We're like, oh my god, he sounded like he was sad. Oh my god, and so we agreed that one of us should send him a friend request, and so I did it because I was the team leader, and then he would write me messages saying that he wanted to play together. And it turned out that I was one of the only people that was so he's a really good player, but he isn't good. He doesn't. It's hard if you're an 11-year-old kid to find good teammates, and Overwatch is a very complicated game. Like it requires adult level strategy. So he would always want to play with me because my friends are good, and so I'd be like, oh, you guys, that kid from the other time wants to play with us. Just make sure to like don't make any masturbation jokes, and
you gotta watch your wording. Like I like to play with that 11-year-old kid, and it's
play video games with this anonymous 11-year-old kid that I don't know where he lives, I don't know what his name is, I have no idea what he looks like.
It's too late.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. But yeah, like so it started like that, and then he grew used to playing with us. But the thing is that he almost never talks.
He grew used to playing with us.
Shut up! That's not that weird. So
I'm just saying, man. If you ever grow into like a large YouTube channel, some fucking BuzzFeed asshole is gonna go back in time and find that clip and cut it out.
They could, and I almost would. It would draw attention to the fact that I'm talking about the fact that I'm a nice guy that's willing to play with kids.
I long one day to be important enough in YouTube for a hit piece to be made about me. I'm waiting.
I know, where's my hit piece? I'm so sad.
Oh well, dude, I'm telling you, man. With the way things are going, it's like they're attacking all the bigger names, right?
Yeah.
And when they file all those big names down, they're going to be coming for people with even
they've been coming after me. The thing is this. They've been coming after me. As I've told you, there's been fucking 4 hate speech strikes. 3 out of them did not get overturned. Like I tried to appeal them, and they said
that's the crazy thing, though, right? Is I found this out that one strike, one reporting can lead to a thing. Yeah, you told me. No, one person, person, one individual person can get a channel banned by flagging. That's madness.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of other things that, like, if I were to go through the list of like ways in which I have been targeted, and some of the things are things I don't even like to talk about. Like they've come after me. It's definitely sure. And the thing is that because this is what makes the most sense. Because of the fact that I'm a small enough channel, I just passed 13,000 subscribers. I am small enough that people can kind of pretend like I'm a small channel, but I'm significant enough. I have like well over 2,500,000 views. So it's not like people don't fucking watch my videos, And
he is known, Khaleesi.
But the thing is that what I bring to the table on YouTube is something that aside from my friends, like aside from these guys and stuff, nobody else does. Like we talk about the sort of like post-feminist, non-regressive leftist stuff, but the one thing that we do in particular that sets us apart from like Milo Yiannopoulos or Dave Rubin, who are both gay, is that we talk a lot about the gay male community, and we are our kind of like Gaytriarchy mission statement is to red pill gay guys and get them to abandon feminism and abandon the LGBT, because the LGBT is just a fucking feminist conglomerate at this point. And we are trying to do that. And it is legitimately spreading. Like we started, Katz came up with a title for it. We call it GigTow. Gays go their own way. And we have a GigTow playlist on my channel, and there's 6 different videos of guys talking about this, like why they either do it or what they think about the concept of it and why they think it's relevant. And there's more guys who are interested in like I've had 2 other guys say that they want to do videos and they're just working on it, but they don't make that many videos. And, so this notion of gay guys who feel like this, it has already become, at least at a very micro level, viral. And if it were to become the case that this became a mass movement of guys who are like, wait, we don't have to be feminists for real? Holy shit. Like that would be a major problem for the Democratic Party if gay guys, like by and large, started doing that. And since they know it's already spreading, they have every reason to target me. So that's where a little bit of my quote unquote paranoia, and like it's not paranoia if they really are out to get you, and they have every reason to target me because of that.
It's like calling people who they have a little bit of dried food on hand in case of an emergency, right? Or like 10 gallons of water in their basement or whatever. Calling those people fucking preppers, crazy conspiracy guys, and then all of a sudden a hurricane hits. And they're the only ones not running out to the store like a bunch of idiots.
Says the prepper.
Well, it's the truth, man. Like there's going crazy. There's going crazy and fucking putting a bomb bunker in your backyard, and then there's being prepared, having stuff on hand, and being ready for when something happens. I
would totally build.
I'm sure back in like the 50s or whatever, there was towns where like.
Proper need for one.
Let's say in the 50s, there's like a town, and one of the richest guys in town is a chemist, right? And he's trying to tell everybody, you guys, you got to get this fucking asbestos out of your walls. You got to get rid of this asbestos shit. They
call them a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're wacky. Don't listen to.
I love asbestos. Like it's like lemonade.
That costs a bunch of money to get it out. We don't all have your chemist money, crazy person. And then they're all dead.
Fucking yeah.
But they went out eating what they loved.
Hey guys, I gotta run. It was nice talking to you guys. I gotta go do some mod shit. Something's going on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hey, thanks for coming by. We're gonna be winding up just in a second now. Anyway, so thanks for coming by. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, it was great, man. Thank you guys. It's nice meeting you all, and I'll come back. Anytime you want. Just give me a heads up.
Looking forward to it.
Night.
All right, I got to figure out how to get out of here now.
You just hit the red button, you fucking hang up on our asses.
I know. There's so many tabs. That's my problem. There's so many tabs.
Just the big red button.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you.
See you.
So
do we trash him now? No, we don't do that on the Gaytriarchy.
Yeah, no, we're very nice to all the people that have been. I don't think that there's a single person that has like been on the Gaytriarchy that we like have issues with at all. Like I will say certain slightly judgmental things about that one leather daddy guy because he was really intense, but it's not that I
liked him.
No, I like him too, but at the same time, the judgmental things I would say about him, I said right to him. Like you kind of remember like the way I spoke to him. Like it was a
conversation
because he was talking about how he was like, well, in the leather community, a man doesn't call a leather daddy by his name. He calls him sir. And I was like, so wait, if I were to meet you at a bar, you would expect me to be calling you sir. And he's all like, well, I would expect you not to even talk to me. And I was like, oh, okay then. You know,
well, I mean, I thought of it just as like a very let's say masculinized version of the same elaborate hierarchies that drag queens that are really into it have.
Oh yeah, yeah.
man,
It
drag
is.
queens.
It is. It's exactly. It is like a masculinized version of the drag hierarchy. It really is similar, like the way he described it. But you know, it's interesting. He was one of the people that I want to make a gig towel. Like I kind of want to make a gig towel video. He told me, this is what he told me. He was like, look, I could maybe do that, but I don't think that you would want it. And the reason why is because I would say shit that you would not be comfortable with. And I was like, yeah, that might actually very well be true. So this guy,
Put it on my channel.
Arturia, he is this like leather daddy guy. He's actually very interesting. Like if you want to, like,
Are we talking about Sir Fonzie?
Yeah, he's a very interesting fellow. Like he's smart and interesting. He used to date women until his like mid-20s or so, and then he decided to give up on women, and then now he pretty much exclusively dates Asian men, and then like he has like a number of them that he regularly like he calls them his boys, and there's like 5 or 6 of them or something. And
He has a harem.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because Asians in general, not just the boys, are the most fun.
Okay.
They will do anything.
Okay. Well,
I'm not that into Asians myself.
If you look at this guy's Twitter, there's pictures. So like
There's no mystery.
Yeah, no, there is nothing left to the imagination. And the thing is that he openly admits to being a misogynist and like does not want women. He's like, no, I don't have any reason to have women in my life. I decided to mostly not have women in my life in my mid-20s or so, and I've been a much happier person ever since then. There's about maybe 1.5, 2 women that I'm cool with, like one that I work with that I get along with, and this other one but other than that, no, I have no interest in interacting with women. And so they're trying to make the leather scene intersectional and diverse. And I say, screw that. I want it to be just men. And like, that's his attitude. So I don't know like what kind of crap he would say if he made his Geektown video.
I would like to hear it myself.
I want to hear it too. I want to hear it. And like, there's a part of me that wants to tell him. I'm like, look, this whole Gigtow playlist, it's not about my views. It's about the idea that there are gay men out there who aren't feminists, who want gay men to be autonomous from the LGBT. And anybody would be completely overreaching in any sort of authoritarian way to try to tell you that we don't want you to share your reasoning for doing this. You like the only entrance examination, like the only prerequisite is that this is how you feel. You are interested in dissociating from the LGBT. Now, for you, you don't want to be around women entirely. Now, that's not true with us. Like I have several female. I mean, there's women have been on this show. That's not my stance. My stance is like, the LGBT is a political alliance that is based around intersectional feminism, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I mean, hey, you don't want anything to do with that, and you don't want to have anything to do with women. Well, that's interesting. Maybe it'll be worth hearing about it.
Yeah, but that's intersectional in its own way, right? Like that's
no, I know what you're saying.
What? No, what is? Explain yourself.
Well, completely excluding women in general from the scene is intersectional in its own way because leather doesn't see sex or gender. It's not necessarily about what parts a person has or what views they have. When you go into that dungeon, you just become the dungeon. Like like everything else goes away and you have given your life, you've given the control of your body and whatever else to somebody else. It's not meant sexual as much.
I think I know what you're saying. And there's truth to this notion that like women can have leather too if they want to. You just go to the store and you fucking buy it, and you can play with it however the fuck you want. Absolutely. And I don't even think that he's trying to say that women aren't allowed to do that. What he's saying is that there is a specific gay male culture that is leather that formed in like the 1960s or so with like bikers and shit, and it had its very hierarchical. Like you could go listen to the stream because he talks about it a lot. A very like hierarchical set of traditions and rules that was distinct to the gay male leather population, and that gay male leather population itself, like the gay male one, has been invaded and taken over and being demanded to become all like inclusive for women and trans people and everything. And so I think that is the complaint from him, is that like the gay guys don't get to have their distinct gay male version of it anymore.
It's the same way. It's the same thing. He related it very much to how we talked about how Prince, you and I met with Grindr. How Grindr went from being a male.
We didn't meet with Grindr.
No,
Pat's made a video about how Grindr became conquered by intersectionals, and I liked the video.
That is what I meant. Like, we've never even met actually, like not physically. No, the subject that brought us together was Grindr and how it went from being a male for male hookup app to being shamed by activists relentlessly. So now that there's women and trans people on there, and it's like, no one said you couldn't have your own app. Why did you need ours?
In fact, you do have it. It's called Tinder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they did try to make one, and then it flopped because everyone thought it was transphobic.
Yeah. And let's just be honest, like the main reason that feminist type organizations, whether they be female feminist or transsexual feminist, the reason they invade gay male or just male spaces in general is because they're either too few of them or they're not willing to put in the work to make their own spaces. They find it easier, like the cuckoo bird, to just put their eggs in our nests and then kick us out, making sure that they get to reap the benefits of our labor, and then say that it's our fault for not sharing, quote unquote, the thing that we made for ourselves.
And then they run the place out into the ground and it goes out of business. So like Grindr is going to go out of business. There's like multiple, like it's not even just at this point that, like, okay, as soon as they started allowing heterosexual women to just go on there to have sex with dudes and like whatever the fuck that is about, which is already like going to make, like there's very stiff competition for Grindr with Scruff, especially. Scruff is very popular. And but there's other ones. There's like 5 or 6 other ones, but there was already that. And then there's this some crazy ass Asian guy trying to sue Grindr for racial discrimination because there's too many guys that say no Asians on there. Like Grindr is supposed to do something about that, which is just wacky. And
I was that guy for a few weeks.
And now there's there's news stories that are leaking that because Grindr uses GPS and it always tracks you, like if you're like you have to like actively turn off your I don't use Grindr, but I guess you have to like actively turn it off, or maybe even it's tracking you even if it's off or something. Third parties can now pay for access to know where all the gay guys are, and so that fear mongering is being leaked on the internet, and it's not by like right-wing sources, it's left-wing sources trying to make people paranoid to use Grindr. So that fucking place, it's a classic get woke go broke scenario with Grindr. And this shit happens with gay bars all the time. Like I talk about that bar, or not, sorry, with gay spaces, like gay things, and it's specifically, I talked about that bar, The Stud in San Francisco, which I first told you guys that it was it used to be a gay bar. Then the rents of the building cost went up, and so the old manager that had been managing for a long time decided that he was over it. He decided that he was going to sell or whatever, or move on, and they had a committee of people who wanted to save the bar, and a number of them were like bossy ass intersectional feminist people. And the first thing they did was cancel the most popular night, which was this weekly drag night, because I guess they didn't get along with the people who did it, because I don't know, the drag queens were too un-PC or something. And within months, they ran it into the ground and they had to sell it to new owners. And then we heard from my friend Jordan, who lives in San Francisco, a few weeks ago. He was on, and he was saying that there's new owners, and I was like, oh, interesting. There's already new people running that place because these bitches can't fucking keep a place open because nobody wants to go. It's like, you cancel the fun night, your shit is going to close, you dumb fucks.
Well, it's just like Jordan Peterson says. These people, they say they want power, but they don't actually want it because they don't want to go through the work of actually using what they say they want. They just want to bitch and moan until, like, they get what they want, and then they'll just think of something else.
Well,
they don't want.
Well, they also don't want their hands they don't want their hands to be on the wheels when things finally go to shit. They want to have I'm just sitting here bitching on this committee, and then when it fails, it's like, well, it was those gay men for not doing what we told them to do right.
Yeah. They don't want to be in charge. They just want to have veto power over fucking everything.
They basically want to be every part of the power structure except for the person that finally says, you know what, fuck it, we'll do it, and then it fails. They want to be the planning committee. They want to be the person that's like, you are going to do this, and they want to do everything except for be the person that's like, fine, I'm signing off on this. That's what they want to miss.
I don't even want to know. I don't even think that they want to. I don't think that they like a planning committee is giving them a little bit too much credit. I would say it's a little bit more like they want to be. They want to help come up with a manifesto of how they want the thing to look when it finishes. And then everybody else is supposed to actually do all the planning to make this happen, and they never really do. And then it never really happens. And then they act like it didn't happen, and they move on and ruin something else.
Well, that's why they use hashtags, because there's no responsibility in using a hashtag, just visibility.
Well, until you assault a 17-year-old, then there's accountability.
Oh yeah. Wait, no, like that we're moving into phase 2 now. Oh, Asia, we had such hopes for you.
Oh, I assaulted a 17-year-old, but no, he really assaulted me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Or like this ridiculous Kavanaugh situation where, like, the very last minute, something so supposedly important just comes out of nowhere, and then when they get the thing that they say they want, she's nowhere to be found. She doesn't actually want to get the thing that she asked for. That's why they always talk about this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, that was basically it.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say the most ridiculous thing in the news right now is the teacher, the teacher who sucked off the kid. I'm going to tell you right now that at 14, if any of my teachers were like, hey, I give you a blowjob, yes was the answer. I would have put my dick in a fucking wet tree at 14. Like,
yeah, but I think that one of the classic that is often the response that's given whenever we talk about female teachers, having sex with boys.
Doesn't matter. Male teacher even.
Oh, really? But here's the thing: even if it's not a question of willingness on the one end, it's a question of abuse of position. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, personally, I would have put my dick in a wet fucking tree.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to sympathize with the fact that might have been abuse on the other side.
Yeah, okay. So for me, it's always so strange when people bring this up, because like I understand being the horny little 14-year-old boy very well. I understand the like, oh my god, guy that I think was hot was naked for like 0.5 seconds in a movie. I'm gonna masturbate about it for a week. Like I remember that. That feeling of
those
that.
Were happy days.
But at the same time, I was in actuality when I was 14, I was overweight, and I was also horribly self-conscious about being gay. Like because I went to a black middle school. Like my middle school was 80% black, and so being chubby, because I sound about the same now as I did then. Like I always had a very gay accent. Starting around by the time I was like 10, 12, because like this like gay theater guy lived in my house, and I thought he and his friends were cool, and so I ended up kind of like talking like them and like girls and shit. So I was very, very self-conscious about being gay and being chubby. And I didn't want anyone to know I was gay. And then it was like, okay, there's no hiding it. Fine, I'll just admit it. But if anybody ever flirted with me, it was like this terrifying, like, oh my God, what is going on? Kind of a thing. And so like, if an adult ever were to have approached me and like, you know, like even like a really hot dude, I wouldn't have known what to do. It would have been very, it wouldn't have happened there. Like I would have excused myself and been like, bye, you know, even, and then I would have masturbated about it a bunch, you know, like I would, but, like, so it's hard for me to relate to, that, type, like I understand the impulse, but I also know that I wouldn't have done it because of my own, and if I had, I would have had issues out of it, you know, like it would have fucked me up. So
I mean, the thing of it is like, of course, you know, it's not a question of whether or not, you know, the teenagers want it. Of course the teenagers want it. Drug addicts also want sex, will also want drugs, but it's still wrong for the person to sell them drugs, even though the addict clearly wants it. When you're in a position of authority, and particularly one with the responsibility of taking care of children, like young, even teenagers, you are supposed to be the adult. You're supposed to help them get through life without resulting to that. Coming back to my own job again in nursing, like there are nurses that have sex with patients, and it's consensual. And those nurses lose their licenses, and they deserve to lose their licenses because it is inappropriate. No, it's not even inappropriate. It is wrong for a nurse to have sex with a patient because you are no longer fulfilling the purpose of your job, which is to take care of them and to maintain a professional distance so that you can give them objective care. So it's the same thing with the teacher. It's like, does the kid want to have the blowjob? Of course the kid wants to have the blowjob. But the teacher is supposed to know better than to do that because that's not what the teacher is there for.
Oh, I won't deny that at all. I'm not saying what she did was right. I'm just saying I would like to know how it came to light, because every article I've seen has just been fucking bitch teacher sucks 14-year-old dick. But I want to know how.
I know.
How did somebody find out? Like, did he go fucking complain to his mom? Like what happened? Did he go like?
He probably told a friend who told like another friend who told like who
His
eventually
mom.
told their mom, and then it came back.
back in my day,
I can imagine.
back in my day, we had a story of the teacher's name. Her name was Mary Kay Letourneau, and she had sex with like a 13 or 14-year-old kid, and this is back, you know, this was in the early 90s or so, and the laws weren't so relentlessly feminist, and the social culture wasn't so relentlessly feminist in general. Like now, if that happened, there would be a lot of people saying like that she shouldn't go to jail or anything, you know, like probably. But at the time, it was like taboo, and bitch went to fucking prison. And but it became a really, really big news story because she was actually particularly attractive. Like she was actually like pretty good looking. And wait, I want to look up a picture. We should screen share a picture of her because she went to prison for like a few years, and then she got out and she married the kid.
Oh my God, I heard about this.
So and it was like some like Filipino or like Pacific Islander type kid.
Oh boy, how unsatisfying.
You and me.
Yeah, no, she was pretty cute. She was pretty cute.
The Filipino kid.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was agreeing with you on.
There are some very attractive Filipino men out there, but their equipment is, well.
I don't know. I don't know about that. But here, I'll show. I'll screen share so people can. Wait, I can't do it. I don't know how. Oh, where did the button go? Oh, there we go. Okay. Now let me make sure I'm not going to dox myself. Just got to make sure.
How many times has that happened on the Gaytriarchy?
We're using OBS. I'm pretty sure I've cropped out all the I cropped out all the edges.
So that's what she looked like when she first started fucking him.
Oh. Both kind of you.
Yeah, but the girl is. I mean,
for a teacher, she's pretty attractive.
I feel like he must
cocksucker mouth.
What'd you say?
She's got a massive cocksucker mouth. The first thing I look at is those lips, and you know those lips open real wide.
I feel like he must have been hung or something. Like, I feel like for some reason he must have had a really big dick.
Or she just had brown rice fever.
But like, so that's what they look like when she's a bit older. They have kids.
Jesus.
Oh, look like he got his ass. Like he has like fucking scar. Like someone hurt him. Yeah, he has a scar on him.
Massive scar.
Yeah, I wonder what happened.
If you go back to that first picture, though, like, look at the look on his face. That cocky son of a bitch. Look at that little eyebrow raise. Like, I fucked my teacher.
I did it.
Yeah, but it was this weird. It was a really big deal. I don't know why it was such a but everyone knew her name, you know.
This was before YouTube, before we were all jaded, soulless vessels, just waiting for the next nihilistic distraction.
Yeah, when it was like cable news clickbait was like still evolving. Like this was within the same 5 years or so as the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding thing.
Oh God, I'm so old. Why do I remember that?
That was the best. Like that was the best fucking shit ever. We were talking about that a few weeks ago. Mr. Canadian motherfucker, Casey is your name. Do you remember? Do you know anything about what that was?
I wasn't even born.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Oh,
you infant!
I'm not the youngest one here tonight.
Oh God, I'm decomposing before my very eyes.
Take that, cats! I will be 6 years behind you.
It's okay. I'm prettier.
So here, Tanya Harding, Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan. So, God damn it, I can't type Kerrigan. So, the deal is that the one on the left, this is Nancy Kerrigan. And she was, I guess, supposed to be a little bit prettier, which is weird because I don't feel like she's actually that much prettier. I feel like the other one is actually maybe slightly better looking, but maybe she just had to put on a lot of makeup when she would. I don't know. But more importantly, Nancy Kerrigan on the left was more graceful. She was a very graceful skater, and what gets high marks in the judging is being very graceful and feminine. Now granted, you have to do some triple jumps and everything, but mostly if you can't do it gracefully, you're not going to get good marks. Well, Tanya Harding on the right has never been particularly graceful, but she's the best jumper out there. She could do jumps that only men could do. And some Japanese chick or whatever. And so
that doesn't count though.
They can do everything. So fuck
off, Naruto.
Hey, I love that show.
Everyone does.
They were going into the Olympics, and for whatever reason, I think maybe there was they only were going to send one woman to compete in the. I don't fucking know. I think it was because she wanted a gold medal. I think she just really, really, really wanted a gold medal. And so before the Olympics even happened, she, her boyfriend technically hired some guy to go out on the ice to he ran out on the ice with a pipe and hit the fucking one on the left with in the knee. trying to like maim her so she couldn't skate well.
I remember that.
Christ.
Oh yeah, it was kind of a tragedy. Like it was just so mean.
It was mostly just like this really like fabulous. It was like one of the, like the most like the first moments of like essential like reality television, because it turned into this big long ongoing drama because she didn't actually successfully get her knee broken, so she was able to compete, and they had to like face each other. Like this is them on the ice like practicing after it had already happened. Like, you know, and she's like, "Oh shit, I gotta watch out."
That's literally like fucking the plot of an anime. Like,
yeah,
someone tries to kill me, I come back stronger just to defeat you. Like that's.
And every time I stare at you, like I have this incredibly long and detailed inner monologue talking about everything that you're doing and how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's using the Sakura technique on the ice. Like that's a very difficult technique, but I will counter using the Hirogan.
Yeah, no, it does, and it would be one of the animes that's like largely like really, really fucking boring, and they're just like walking around in like pastel school girl outfits, and then sometimes they get naked and they show their boobs, and it's like,
well, you never know. You could also find out that the reason that they're doing like ice skating is because it's really good training for piloting giant ice skating robots on Titan. It all, you know, with anime, the rule I say is that it doesn't matter what the anime is about. There is always at least the possibility of giant robots being involved.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about anime. God
Is
bless
that-
America.
Or incest.
Yeah.
Is that
Incest
them?
and robots.
then is that them now? Nancy Kerrigan looks fucked up now. Look at her, the one on the right. She looks like fucking. She looks like a man.
She looks like Bruce Jenner.
I mean, she looks like a transgender person. Is what I mean.
Hey, how dare you?
Is transgender.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it looks like
I said Bruce, not Caitlyn.
it looks like it looks like Caitlyn Jenner dressed up as Nancy Kerrigan or something.
Maybe it's Nancy Kerrigan dressing up as Bruce Jenner dressing up.
Yeah, she looks like she got like
Botched plastic surgery.
yeah, like not particularly good plastic surgery, so she got another couple facials, and she should have just never done it at all. Tanya Harding looks like a real person because she couldn't afford them. Because Nancy Kerrigan, like after that whole thing happened, the thing is that you try to win an Olympic medal, and then you go on the professional circuit, and you go and you like skate for all the little girls that are like training to be figure skaters, and you like they sell out stadiums, and it's like, oh my god, tonight we have, you know, Christy Yamaguchi and Nancy Kerrigan, and then like the little girls are like, oh my god, she was famous like 15 years ago, oh my god.
And now you can't even get them to look up from their phones.
I loved Christy Yamaguchi. Let's look at her. She when I was little, she was my favorite.
Well,
look at this hair.
Well, we are now approaching the 3-hour mark, so we should probably consider wrapping this up soon, since we're now just.
We can do it. We can finish.
Yeah. 2 a.m. here, so.
Okay. So finish
you're
on
in
our
the
face. Let's finish on our faces rather than in some. Never mind. I'm not going there. Let's just kill this.
I feel like you went there. I felt it.
All right.
Finish on anybody's face.
I edged.
Well,
there,
it was.
So.
This has probably been literally the least structured Gaytriarchy and kind of the most all over the place random, but it was fun for me. I didn't really feel like having any specific topics to talk about tonight. I'm just in that kind of mood. So thanks to our guests, we had Anubis, who is no longer here, a really nice guy. I've been talking to him regularly, and Casey, who is super nice to help me out with some tech stuff earlier today. And I will see you guys next week. I'll try to have a guest actually prepared.